Welcome to the Serious New Moon in Cancer. For the next 2 weeks, you'll be redefining your emotional home. And buckle up your seatbelts, Buttercup. It might be a little turbulent. All that and more. And Namaste Today live. Hello and welcome to Namaste Today Live. I'm your host, Psychic Astrologer Sensei Christopher Oteki, here to be your cosmic guide and personal assistant to Ascension. We're streaming live right now on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X.com, and Instagram. If you're in our super chat, please tell us where you are watching from and what your astrology sign is. We have so much to talk about this week. Let's say hello to a few people. Hello, Experimental Elemental. Hello, Sydney. Crab's getting crabby. I hear you, girl. Michele Bell, so nice to see you up from Canada. Kelly B, hello. Erica, always a pleasure. Susie Sharp, hello. Lemon Drops, I like that. That's really cool. Hi, Julie. Nice to see you live. Faith, hello. And Sydney again. Okay. Michelle Camper. Yay. Happy Camper. So nice to see you. We have a fascinating week coming up here. We're in the high seas of Cancer, my friend. And this week in astrology, we're going to talk about how the new moon tonight will kickstart an emotional attitude that you are going to adopt going forward. The sun is going to trine Saturn this week, getting serious about change. And Venus is opposing Pluto, which means it's time to self-love or die. And later on tonight on Astromingle, educator, coach, and colon hygienist Michele Jones is here to talk about releasing and colon hygiene. But first, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. The zodiac weather is from Saturday, July 6th to Friday, July 12th, 2024. Looking ahead first at the weekend forecast. Over the weekend, we're going to find some emotional stability as we ease into a new inner emotional home. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and cozy. Step 15 means Venus rules the day. You are feeling pretty and you're opening up to greater love. Juno's opposing Saturn, so you are also clicking into a new reality. And it's Love Fest Day. Tell everyone you love that you love them. You're falling in love with a new feeling about the future. On Sunday, it's sunny and joyful. Step 16 means that Neptune rules this day. This is a spiritual learning day. You will feel the divine mother of the divine feminine. You are choosing self-love, and with the moon in Leo, it's not difficult to do. Zipping ahead to the week, the 5-day mood forecast. Over the course of the week, you're going to commit now to a new emotional home, and you could say you are reversing childhood. On Monday, it's sunny and celebrating. Step 17 means Saturn rules the day. You're going to feel dedicated. You are manifesting a new attitude on life. Mercury is trining the North Node, so your mind is in alignment with the solution and also your belief. Venus is sextiling Uranus, so you're opening up now to the possibilities of what you can manifest. And with the moon in Leo, you are celebrating. On Tuesday, it's sunny and convinced. Step 18 means Mars rules the day. I feel activated today. You are understanding a new definition of joy. With Jupiter sextiling the North Node, again, your mind is completely on board the process. And the moon shifts into Virgo, so things become hyper-aware and impossible to deny. On Wednesday, it's sunny and rather sober. Step 19 means Earth rules the day. This is a day where you are manifesting a new emotional way of being, which means you may have to go with the flow and sort of nurture yourself. You will feel productive. You're receiving spiritual miracles. Things are coming in. And with the sun trining Saturn, you are sitting up straight in your chair because you know this is a new spiritual timeline. On Thursday, it's cloudy with a chance of witchy. Step 20 means the moon is in pure form. And the moon is in Virgo and then Libra. So you're going to feel hyper-aware and then maybe self-aware or self-conscious. You might feel a little edgy. Don't worry, this too shall pass. With Venus trining Neptune, you're going to feel the edges of fate unfolding. Then Venus moves into Leo and you'll probably feel the heart come online and the inner child wanting to play. And then on Friday, it's sunny and breezy. Step 21 is when it starts to get fun. Jupiter rules the day. You will feel relief on this day and also begin to feel something new is opening up. Venus opposes Pluto, so it's never been a better time than now to embrace self-love. The sun is sextiling Juno, so you're going to make this your new reality. And with the moon in Libra, things really do feel breezy, easygoing, and relatable.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
This zodiac weather is from Saturday, July 6th to Friday, July 12th, 2024. Looking ahead first at the weekend forecast. Over the weekend, we're going to find some emotional stability as we ease into a new inner emotional home. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and cozy. Step 15 means Venus rules the day. You are feeling pretty and you're opening up to greater love. Juno's opposing Saturn, so you are also clicking into a new reality. And it's Love Fest Day. Tell everyone you love that you love them. You're falling in love with a new feeling about the future. On Sunday, it's sunny and joyful. Step 16 means that Neptune rules this day. This is a spiritual learning day. You will feel the divine mother of the divine feminine. You are choosing self-love, and with the moon in Leo, it's not difficult to do. And we're back. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, please be kind and do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Serious Joy TV. Hit the bell button so you're notified. And if you don't mind, please like this video so the YouTube algorithm will suggest us to other people that enjoy astrology. Namaste Today Live is sponsored by SeriousJoy.com. We've gotten a whole new face to our service, and now we have a free homepage where you can check out the step number of the day, when the step number will change, and we also have reports on any transits going on. So stop on by SeriousJoy.com every day, and if you want to be a member for just $3.99, I'll talk about some of the features that we have at the end of the show, including the 40 days of self-love and ascension coming up at 0 degrees Leo. So without further ado, let's take a look at the week's planets and transits. Oy vey, the energy has been a bit bumpy, has it not? First of all, happy Serious Joy Day. This is a holiday that we have created. Actually, I think it's actually perfect because we need a corporate holiday, and our birthday moves around because we have different versions of Serious Joy. But every year, once a year, the sun will conjoin the fixed star Sirius, and that's tonight. You'll see it. If you look up in the sky, you'll see the sprite. Well, you'll see maybe a sliver of the moon because it's a new moon. So actually be a dark moon and a star next to it. That's interesting. Can't wait to see that, actually. I have to run outside and take a look at it. Now, this day, Serious Joy Day, actually in history is known as the Lion's Gate. That's right. Lion's Gate used to be, back in ancient Egypt, when it became popular, when the sun and Sirius rose in the sky. And that was when the fixed star Sirius was in Leo. But the fixed stars actually move 1 degree every 90 years. Interesting, isn't it? Currently, the star Sirius is at step 14 Cancer. And step 14 Cancer is where our heart belongs, intellectualizing where our heart belongs. Now, most of us, it sort of depends. Sirius, the star, went from step 13 to step 14 in our lifetime. It's step 13 in my chart. That means that Sirius used to be conjoined the United States sun at 13 degrees Cancer for about a 90-year period. And I feel that that is also the period where the United States has grown the most is in that last 90-year period, the most growth. And some in good ways and some in poor ways. It doesn't mean we make right choices, but the interesting thing about this, though, with the sun conjunct Sirius today is we have a new moon in this 24-hour period. And this new moon sort of seals the deal on what this twinkling energy means. Now, 13 is revolutionary. So we were coming into our power, I'd say, with Sirius at step 13. Step 14 is knowing where you belong. Knowing where you belong. That's what 14 is. It's an opinion. And it comes from the combined energy of what your heart wants for and where you belong, what your heart wants, 1, and where your heart belongs, which is 4, what your heart belongs. When you know where your heart belongs, you know precisely what your opinion is, and you know net 5 what to think. So you know exactly what to think if you know where your heart belongs. You know exactly what to say if you know where your heart belongs. Knowing where your heart belongs brings an ascension into the energy, because the consciousness, the knowing that everything in space-time has a place in space-time based on the signature of the vibration. That's the enlightened way of consciousness, that we're in multiple dimensions at any time, in any moment, and the timeline, the dimension that you're in, is dependent on your frequency and where you're vibrating. So 14, which is where Sirius is basically saying, okay, kids, it's time to get where you belong on the playground. It's time to get where you belong when it comes to the context of your emotions, which is Cancer, the sun in Cancer. So this new moon is in essence saying right now, as I think at Apex before I came on the air, but we're still riding in this energy. This new moon says it is now time to get the care that you belong with. It's now time to get the emotional care that your heart belongs with. It's no longer acceptable to be in a situation that's not nurturing and caring. And it's not that we have to be mean or rude or create trouble, but we are at a place now where if we can't really emotionally stay calm around one another, if we can't help but disrupt one another, what the planets are saying is, well, then move around the cabin and reorganize how you feel. Now, there's a deeper meaning to this, in my opinion, which has a lot to do, and we have the sun trining Saturn this week. It has a lot to do with the fact that we are now stepping into a new psychic timeline, a new karmic timeline, with Saturn retrograde at 19 degrees Pisces and Neptune retrograde at 29 Pisces. That means that we are now retrograding. We're now falling into a new timeline, letting go of old timelines, having made different choices. Timelines being basically spiritual stories we decided to learn. So we have completed these spiritual stories we decided to learn, and we're now on to the next spiritual adventure. The point of this is, no matter where you happen to be in your life, no matter how well you've cared for yourself, no matter what you survived from, no matter what you have learned in your wisdom, the home in which you live in, the emotional state in which you live in, that home begins in your body, how you live in your body. It turns into how you live day to day in your surroundings. It turns into the neighborhood you live in. It turns into the county you live in, the country you live in, etc. That is our home. It's these layers upon layers upon layers of emotional foundation. No matter who you are, the home you come from right now is not high quality enough for you to move on to the next spiritual timeline. Because the homes we all were born to, our childhoods, the way we have nurtured and everything so far, has really just had the premise of healing and restoring ourselves back to neutrality. That was our greatest goal. Of course, everyone wants to feel good, but most of us couldn't even imagine, what life is like without pain or sadness or sorrow or depression or loneliness or any of these other heavier feelings. We just didn't even know. This is the first Cancer season where we can start to build a daily life that is absent from this damage, absent from these emotional turmoils, these emotional tumors, as I've been calling it. And not only that, but the next question is, okay, that's just being, disease-free, dis-ease-free, okay? What about being able to ascend to a higher frequency, a state of joy all the time? I don't know if you all had the chance. I know only 300 or 400 had the chance to come to Unite the Light in person. And I bring it up a lot because of the feeling and the vibration that we experienced with everyone there. We did experience just this natural high, this happiness, this joy, this confidence that everything is going to be more than okay, that we're going to be able to, do, the sky's the limit. It was this exciting feeling that most people say they rode through mid-June until we get to Cancer, and then suddenly people were sort of back to reality. But what I've talked about many times is that I feel that energy was sort of a taste of what they call 5D to be, which is this higher energy where life is just more exciting and happy. An example of this is if you ever have the opportunity to go on a vacation, especially as a kid, a vacation like Disneyland or, Universal Studios or something very magical, or like a cool zoo, something that just puts you in another world, and how magical you feel when you're in that state, and how it's just, bigger than life and more exciting than life. And you remember everything from having breakfast to, the first toll booth, right? It just all imprints on you because you're so high vibration the entire time. That, I believe, is what we're attempting to create. We are attempting to come from a better home. We're attempting to live in a higher vibration all the time where life is joyful. And by the way, it's a myth that things have to be going your way for you to feel this way. Now, here's the paradox of reality. All right. If you are in this high vibration, then things start going your way according to that high vibration. Don't take my word for it. Try it yourself. Live in a high vibration. Start bouncing off the walls. Start enjoying your life and your moments. Start feeling like you come from a great, happy, good home, right? Watch how it affects other people. Some people will get jealous and angry, and that's something we all have to expect. And what that is some people get jealous that others are starting to grow towards happiness, and it's their inner child that's hurt inside. It's not really that they want to hold you back, but they just are that immature and their heart hurts. And so they start to take it out or lash back or lash out. People get afraid that you're going to abandon them, basically. And the truth is they know you will. They know you will if you keep growing and they don't. So there is friction that's starting to happen, as I have been talking about, especially in families or, perceived families. And sometimes we have sometimes we come from broken homes and then we create new families. And those families are like social networks and peer groups or people that we work with in a given company, or we find ourselves in something like the army or something that just takes over our life in that regard. And my point is like those families were all based on coping with the traumas we were born with. And so if you really are starting to cope and you really are starting to heal, then gosh golly, you may not fit in as like you used to. And that's sort of what the premise of this next week is. Today's new moon at step 14 conjunct Sirius is saying, I've got to come from a home where my heart belongs. I have to belong in my home. I have to belong in my own skin, first of all, how I feel in my own skin. I have to feel like I belong in my daily life and everything in my life. I have to feel like my life is nurturing me and helping me ripen to be the best version of myself ever. That is the emotional potting soil that we need. Now, that's the Cancer. If you know astrology, and we'll show you the charts later, but you know that Cancer is the fourth house and Gemini is the third. And those two are the foundation of the chart. And the foundation of the chart is your mental attitude and your emotional well-being. Mental emotional well-being is the foundation of the entire expression of the soul. So we already have Jupiter in Gemini, which is helping us to expand the way we think and outgrow limited thinking, self-limited thinking. We're starting to think differently, think more clear, and coherently, and communicate, I think, in a more sharper way. And now that we have this new moon at step 14, net 5, which is net to a Gemini, this new moon is basically saying, okay, and how intellect and emotion come together are now on a new point. How thought and feelings come together, because 14 nets to a 5. That's a Gemini degree in a Cancer state of awareness and emotion. So it's in essence the attitude our mind takes on our feelings. So to boil this down as simply as possible, everyone has a bit of an emotional attitude on life that they have adopted. Like, life is hard, another day, another 50 cents, and I always end up, the groomsman, never the groom, like always this sort of sometimes bitter, sometimes Sometimes kind of laughing punch drunks are like, can you believe how stupid life is? Sometimes that's sort of the emotional, and we sort of have this emotional disposition. And if you are an actor or you're in theater or film, this would be like the emotional motive of the character, the root intention of the character, right? The goal, the emotional goal of the character. And so what you could say is this new moon today is giving you a new emotional goal for your character, a new attitude, intellectual, emotional. It's an attitude on life, on your emotional life, a new way of thinking about your emotional life. Now that may sound, so what, sensei, who cares? If you always assume that life is going to pay you twice as much as you put in, that's going to bring life. That emotional attitude is going to be the foundation. So again, the attitude Gemini and the feelings Cancer, this is the foundation of your chart. If your emotional attitude is you are already wealthy, you are already abundant, you are already beautiful and something, and versus one day or I will get there. I've had a lot of my private clients, we've been making intentions for ourselves. And a lot of the intentions I've noticed that my students have been saying have been simple intentions that are just it's okay. One day, I forgive. And I kept correcting and saying, no, I don't know if we're not going to make an intention that one day we will be there. We're going to make an intention that we are here and what's going to happen next. And that's sort of what has to happen going forward from today onward. For the rest of Cancer, we have to hi ho, off to work we go. We have to have this emotional new attitude, this new pep in our step, and find an anthem, find a song if you want, but just make sure this song is a celebration of having arrived. It's not the celebration of I will survive, as the 70s saying, I will survive. And that was pretty much what you did, is just kept trying to survive. The new anthem has to be, I have survived and what's going to happen next. And this creates what we're going to call our emotional security. So there's two basic redirections of our emotional foundation. And remember, your emotional energy it's your energy in motion. Okay. So there's an emotional field that's just your energy is spinning around you. That's just constantly picking up, like the moon spins around the earth, precisely like the moon spins around the earth, just constantly picking up on how you feel about that, and how you feel about that, how you feel about others, and how you feel about those other things, and just constantly monitoring how we feel. The problem is that, we have had these fields littered with wounds, emotional tumors, regret, all these negative feelings. And so anytime we were feeling, we're just picking up on everything icky. And so what the universe is basically doing is saying, okay, release all these old icky feelings that were all lessons, bring your feelings back to neutrality. But then as you begin to move up the magic of reality and generating reality, when you charge a feeling like with positivity, and that feeling of positivity is spinning around and then bounces off of somebody else's feeling of positivity, and then boom, now there's more emotion, and then each of those people feel that connection, and then they respond, cool, and then there's another wave. So we begin to emotionally co-create from our energetic field. And this is what an angry mob does. They emotionally co-create. But this is also what Unite the Light was. We emotionally co-created 5D, and we were vibrating in the high levels. So this is how we begin to create our new communities of light, is first by having very good emotional hygiene. We're going to talk about colon hygiene today, ironically, but it kind of all goes together, because you got to let stuff go if you're going to bring in clean energy, right? And that's just part of the process of being humans and in light bodies. So emotional hygiene is important. So as we move through the rest of the month, we're going to create, first of all, this week, kind of like what should the emotional field be day to day for me? Like, how should I feel every day? How should I feel every day in my life? How should I feel every day in my body? How should I feel? And then what do I want the future to feel? And that's where we sort of go towards towards Thursday, Friday, we start directing, well, how is my future going to feel? And how am I going to feel if this happens? If I do this, how will that make me feel? And if I do that, how will that make me feel? And so we then start calculating emotional consequences of us feeling one way or another as we start to get to the end of the week. So you could say the big theme, of this week is we are piloting our emotional direction. And the title of the week is Coming from a Good Home. Coming from a Good Home. In essence, that's what we're here to do. We're here to come from a good home, and we're going to reverse our childhood. Now, what I mean by reversing childhood is the home you were given as a child, no matter how good or bad it wasn't gooder enough for what you want to pull off on the planet next. Nobody has the right emotional home. Think of it as Hogwarts, which is interesting because Hogwarts kind of had, if you look at that setup, it didn't look very cozy in that castle. It looked kind of scary and dark and kind of damp. like so I was like, I don't know if it was the best place really to raise wizards, to be honest. Like I would have liked some more clean sheets. That's just a Taurus Leo rising talking, and some more staff for cleanliness. But my point is that like, if we are going to step into our magic of manifestation, we have to have a higher vibration home and surrounding. And so I think everyone has to upgrade to a new higher vibration of home and foundation. And that's what we mean by it's time to come from a good home. Now, realize that good home is whether or not you allow yourself to be upset when so-and-so says that, whether or not you allow yourself to get pulled through the mud when you hear this or you hear that. So coming from a good home starts inside of you and how you are feeling inside of you right now. How are you feeling inside of you? And therefore, okay, and how did you feel when you were at work? And how did you feel in the car? And how did you feel when you were, discussing this with the attorney or whatever? So it's just processing our feelings. Now, this is in essence reversing childhood. And what I mean by that is that once you change how you feel, it's time to let the childhood story go. Like this erases childhood. Once you correct for what childhood failed, then you let go of childhood. That's the cue to let it go because now there's nothing else for it to teach you. You've learned from it. Holding on to it would just be at this point a problem. And that means you do forgive the people that trespass. You do forgive the idiots, the muggles, the ones that never get it, the ones who don't respect you. And even if they don't get it still, you have to make a choice at this point, because if you insist on retribution and you insist on some sort of acknowledgement, you might stop your own growth and have to wait the rest of your life because they may decide they don't want to grow and you've just hung up your ascension on someone else. Basically, once you learn what you have to learn from an emotional situation, especially from a family member, you can just say, thank you, I forgive you. Thank you for teaching me. And that family member is going to find another family member that played the role you were playing for them. And you're just going to move on to the next cycle. That's how it tends to work. So there's a lot of those moments. The key question of the week is, how will daily life feel? How will daily life feel? We have to think about how it will feel now, next. And part of this is because emotions are repetitive because that's a nurturing thing. And so when you don't deliberately nurture your feelings every day like an emotional athlete, then you fall into these emotional patterns, and the patterns themselves are nurturing. Just because like, oh, I always feel weird before bed and I hate how I feel before bed. I'll feel better tomorrow. This just knowing if I feel this way and then I will feel this way when this happens. Just knowing that is the baby knowing, anticipating what's going to happen next. And so we get caught in emotional rhythms because we have no alternative, nurturing in place. So, how will I feel in daily life? That's the question. How will I feel? I need to know how I'm going to feel differently, how I want to feel differently, and start moving in that direction, like rowing a boat, start moving in the direction of how I want to feel. And, to some degree, a Cancer transit is practice with our feelings, practice with the molding of our feelings, practice with the response to our feelings, seeing how that feels, seeing if we try the formula a little bit different, make it a little different, how does that change how it feels, etc. Right? So I need a drink of blue water. Hello, everyone. It's kind of a mellow night tonight. Ooh, I hear something, I think. Am I hearing music? Yeah, I was. That was trippy. That was like elevator music. Maybe that was deliberate. Okay. Little elevator music, little Sensei taking a drink of water music. Do, do, do. Yeah, I do see that one in my glasses. We'll have to work on that one light. All right, so let's move on to the planet, shall we? I am just enjoying a decent pace. Here we go. Starting with the sun. Yes, the sun in Cancer, hanging out also with Venus in Cancer. The sun goes from 15 to 21 degrees, so it goes to step 15 tomorrow. So tomorrow, 15 and Sunday. So the weekend is basically like this is what I need. Sort of understanding what we need to emotionally feel good. And by the way, for me, emotionally to feel good, like I like a clean car in the summer. I like a clean home that makes me feel good. I like things organized. I like everything blooming, the flowers. So it's like all those things in life that make you feel good and at home are part of what we are engineering. And this weekend, you sort of figure out those Goldilocks zones of what feels just right and what feels, good or gooder and pampers you in that way. And then what happens is come Monday, we hit step 17. And come Monday, you will commit then to something to make you feel better or something that makes you feel good about. Now, some people may be playing this out, in one area of their life. Like you might be deciding how you want to feel in your car. You might be deciding how you want to feel in your marriage, how you want to feel with your kids, how you want to feel on vacation. And that's okay because that's like tuning an instrument. If you tune how you want to feel about one area of your life, then you'll be able to tune how you want to feel in all areas of your life. So you only have to tune one area at a time. This is just like in a musical, when I played the viola, we would tune to the letter A. The letter A would be the one note we played, and we tuned the whole instrument to that solid A, right? Same thing is true with astrology and emotions and human consciousness. You tune one thing in your life, and I'll be talking about, in our tea time horoscopes, where each of the 12 signs are tuning their emotional instrument, all right? So once you tune, then you commit to the emotional frequency you want to feel all the time. And so we will commit on Monday, we will act on Tuesday, we will hold space on Wednesday, hump day, for it to be able to manifest. And then we will, step 20, we will hold space for the master level, and things start to get emotional on Thursday, very sensitive. Then step 21, Friday, things start to really speed up emotionally. Okay. And that just means that our feelings start to get carried away. So once the sun goes past step 20, your feelings start to get carried away about stuff, right? And now you find yourself a passenger of your feelings. Step 20 is we become the passenger of our feelings now, and we find ourselves on an emotional ride, if you will. Now, Venus, she goes from step 23 all the way to Leo. She goes into Leo on Thursday. And that's going to feel really good. She's been in Cancer, and having Venus in Cancer just puts a hyper microphone. Yeah, there was music somewhere. Yeah, it's so funny. We don't know where it's coming from. We have music from heaven dropping in out of nowhere that we don't have the license to. Okay. It's kind of funny though. I don't mind. So Venus is saying, really feel deeply exactly how it is you want. And I recommend that everyone really listen to precisely what your feelings want. And this is where you can get very Goldilocks in the sense of, I want a little bit hotter, now a little bit colder, now a little bit more sugar, now a little bit more this, now a little bit more that. So, really hone in on how you want to feel, because this is our one time to sort of emotionally tune in and Venus is going to help you. Then Venus goes into Leo on Thursday. At that point, now we really tune into our heart, right? And that's a kind of a difference where you may say, for instance, okay, let's say you're buying a new car. Let's just do an example, just to give everyone an example of what we're talking about here. Let's say you're buying a new car. Venus in Cancer is like, I want it to feel like I'm being held in, in a leather seat. I want to feel like I'm fast. I want to feel this way. I want to feel that way. I want to feel this way. And so you're feeling all the things you want this car to feel like, and all the different emotional sensations that you want to feel out of driving this car. Then Venus goes into Leo, and that's when your heart goes, but you know what? I definitely want the sports package. So the heart has its favorites, its details that matter. And so this week is about feeling what matters. And then once Venus goes into Leo, feeling what really matters. What is the sparkle? What is the glitter? What is the unicorn? What would make it even better with sugar on top, so to speak? All right. Now that brings us to Leo itself, the sugar. In the sign of Leo, we have Mercury, and then, of course, we have Venus entering the party on Thursday. Mercury goes from 6 to 15 Leo. That means that our mind is interviewing our heart all week about what it is that we really want. And, this is a time to wish upon a star. This is absolutely a time to raise the ceiling as to what your heart wants. We're going to be doing the 40 days of self-love and ascension on Serious Joy starting July 22nd. This is our most popular 40-day program. It's new and improved this year. It's a journaling program. I'm actually reducing the amount of journaling and putting up the amount of imagination. And what it does is when the sun starts at 0 Leo, we journal for 40 straight days, interviewing our heart about what we really want. And you come out not only knowing what you want, but already seeing parts of it manifesting in your life. You have to try to believe it. People have bought homes. People have gotten all sorts. They found the love of their life, like many miracles in this. Now, I'm bringing this up because Mercury in Leo and then Venus going in Leo on Thursday really starts to light up the sparkles as to what your heart really wishes for. And this year, the universe is saying, yes, it is time to raise the game, like big time, to raise the bar on what your heart goes for. All righty. I need some blue water. All right. Moving on to the moons. As we go through the week, we start with the moon in Cancer. It's a new moon right now in Cancer. So considering the moon is new in Cancer, I'm feeling pretty good on this new moon, I have to say. I'm feeling pretty good. People ask me how I'm feeling. Pretty centered and neutral in my emotional field, which is new. It's a new feature. Well, you're going to feel that sort of foundation. You feel that home you need to come from today through tomorrow, Saturday, and you really feel through that new moon and feel through what it is you're going to need. And a good way of thinking about this is thinking about what you're going to want to feel in your job, or what you want to feel in your house, what you're going to feel in the factory, what you're going to feel in the product, the big feels. All right. Then the moon moves into Leo tomorrow on Saturday, late Saturday, and that's when your heart starts to light up. And we really do a lot of dream making Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, where the heart is just basically bouncing off of dreams of the moon in Leo. And this goes until Tuesday night. Now, of course, the sun through that time with the moon in Leo is committing to how we want to feel, committing to what we need day to day. So we really have a very imaginative time Saturday night through Tuesday, dreaming about what's possible. It's very sparkly, magical energy, and stay focused on what will, not what has been. All right. Then Tuesday night, Wednesday and Thursday, the moon goes into Virgo, and we'll stay there basically for the rest of this transit. And then we're missing actually Libra here. Oh no, that's my fault. My graphic is extended. There we go. And then when moon goes into Virgo, that happens Tuesday night through Thursday. That's where emotionally we sort of deal with reality. Like it's going to take, 36 months for that, or it's going to cost us much, or if that's the case. So we sort of realize what we're going to have to pay, emotionally kind of growing up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday night through Thursday morning, basically growing up about what it's going to cost and getting real. Then the moon goes into Libra and we start to go back and forth. So we get back to by next Friday, basically what you've done here is you've emotionally negotiated that you can have it, is what happens over this week. This is like where I feel, what my heart wishes for, what's going to really cost, and let me negotiate a payment plan. So this week basically emotionally is an emotional negotiation. Now back to Gemini and intellect. Jupiter goes from step 9 to step 10, and the significance of this is that you step into a new religion or thoughtware. So this is like operating system. There's a new intellectual operating system that we are starting to run and fire up inside of ourselves. This operating system is how our mind thinks about ourselves, and therefore ... And for the most part, it's written. We've already rewritten this operating system when the sun was in Gemini. Jupiter will move all the way to 11, in which the operating system becomes the new way of thinking about ourselves. And Jupiter will go all the way to 21 Gemini and then retrograde back to 11. The point being, we never actually swap out the operating system. This is the mental operating system. What you're thinking about yourself, the way you're thinking about yourself right now, this is your thoughtware. You're going to be running this version for 12 years of how you think about yourself. Now, the programs you run on top of the thoughtware, okay, operating system is like Windows, DOS, Apple iOS, Google, Android, right? That's operating system. So we're getting a new operating system in our consciousness, a new human thoughtware program. And then once you have that program, then you rewrite what programs run on top of that operating software a few times. But the kernel is written, and Jupiter moving to 9 to 10 means that we're about ready to log in. When Jupiter gets to 11, we'll log into that new operating system. This might be sort of feeling like kind of like a spiritual Neuralink. I'm feeling that way. I feel like I have a spiritual Neuralink. I feel like my mind is operating so much. In some ways, I'm much duller, and in some ways, I'm much sharper. So I'm losing some mental powers and gaining new ones. It's kind of fun and interesting. All right, that brings us to the Taurus energy. Now in Taurus, of course, we have Mars and Uranus. Mars goes from step 19 to step 24 this week. Uranus goes from 25 to 26 on Sunday. This is super exciting. Reason being, Mars is pretty much launching, business plans. So a lot of those plans that we started to, finesse in May, like the light and everything we started to launch, Mars is now continuing with whatever that means. So we have a lot of energy to keep building, manifesting, producing, making money, etc., which is phenom. But Uranus going to 26 is really important on Sunday. That's interesting in some ways. It's on my Venus. So I'm just like, I'll have to think about that after backstage after work. I just realized that's pretty compelling. But that basically means that what we are committed to, so the long-term commitment, whatever your long-term commitment is, like I'm committing to owning a house. I'm committed to this. I'm committed to that. So, whatever you're committed to, Uranus is like, meh, that's baby cakes. Go higher. So Uranus is going to say to everyone, and I know what this is already for me. It's already happening because I was aiming for this, and Uranus is like, it's more like this. And I was like, oh, wow. And my inner self was like, oh, we got this. Okay. So there's a lot of that kind of happening, a lot of realization of how we can take it higher. So, it may take longer than you think for it to manifest, but you're still going to probably have a course correction. Then when you add in things like technology and AI and all sorts of other things that are like anomalies you can't calculate for, it's going to go even higher than any of us imagined because we're going to have these tools that we couldn't imagine. So manifestation really clunks higher. In the state of Pisces, the I-sense state of Uranus, both Saturn and Neptune in Pisces now have retrograded. Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. Saturn at 19, retrograding at 19, saying, okay, it's now time to manifest the new timeline. 19 netting to a 10 means manifest. So manifest the new timeline. Neptune at 29 retrograde, saying, okay, we've pushed the envelope of what these timelines can be. Now they start to rubber band back in. In simple terms, this net 10, this 10-degree orb, is manifesting the new spiritual timeline. All right. The relevancy of this right now is that the sun, let's say the sun in Cancer over here, the sun in Cancer is trining into this week, the sun trines into Saturn, which means that our heart locks into a new sense of home or a new sense of inner belonging or inner sense of safety that's tied into the new spiritual story. In simple terms, you're going to feel that you're no longer in Kansas. You're going to feel that you're now in the new timeline. You're going to feel that you have progressed out of the old timeline into the new timeline. And even as I just said that, my third eye just showed me something that was kind of interesting. Very, very interesting. All right. Then, of course, Aquarius, Pluto. Pluto to Aqua at step one. The real relevancy here is that Venus will oppose Pluto. Pluto, hey, preach, Daryl. That's so funny. Venus will oppose Pluto at step one. That opposition is a bit of a, tug of war inside of ourselves, where we realize we still don't love ourselves enough. We still aren't taking it higher in ourselves. We still aren't raising the bar in self-love. So there is a little bit of a rude wake-up call where, this could just be simply seeing yourself in the mirror and going, oh, Lord, you need to slow down on the salt. Or it could be something much more profound, like I really need to give myself credit for how smart I am. And then the Aries constellation, we have the North Node and Chiron both in Aries, both at a stable degree all week. The North Node at step 10 saying it's now time to manifest this new self-motivation, time to manifest a new drive in ourselves. So the North Node at 10 says it's time to be driven for different reasons. And Chiron at 23 says, it turns out it's not an unhappy ending. Turns out that it doesn't all collapse. Turns out that it might be something that you hadn't expected. So I think Chiron at 23 is healing things. So putting this all together, what we basically feel is, things I think are going to work out. We sort of feel they're going to work out with ourselves. We can sort of feel that it's going to work out in the future. We don't know exactly how, but we can feel that things will work out. All righty. So let's now move on to, and actually I should have done this beforehand, which is looking at some charts. And normally I have this set up beforehand, but there you go. Oh, nice. And we got the cool music too. All right. So I think I'm ready. Brilliant. Coming up tonight, Michele. I'm going blank on her name. Is it Jones? I think so. Yeah, it is. I was like, can it be that simple? Yes. Thank you very much, Diane. Forgive me. I'm looking at the script. I'm like, yeah, it was that. Educator, coach, and colon hygienist. We're going to talk about basically the healing of the gut. We're going to talk about also gut flora and a lot of other things that are very important. Turns out that I think part of our difficulty in being healthy in life comes down to gut and gut intelligence. So looking at some of the charts for the week, tonight, in the middle of the night, we have Venus squaring Chiron. The significance of this is, remember I said we're starting to believe that it might work out in the future, and that starts literally tonight with this square. You might be starting to feel like it's going to turn out differently than you thought. Start to feel like it's going to turn out differently, because it is. Then we have later on Saturn and Juno oppose each other. This happens tomorrow afternoon. Here's Juno at 19 opposing Saturn 19. What this is basically a faith versus reality moment that happens on Sunday, where we ultimately feel like we have to just approach reality as if everything will work out. Now, maybe you've already done that, but if you haven't, the universe is definitely instructing us. On Monday, Venus then sextiles Uranus. The significance here is Uranus now at 26 degrees, which is what I was talking about on Sunday. So we're committed to going even higher than we thought. Venus at 26 means that we have coordinated the feelings necessary. So you could say this is the bird's nest and this is the golden egg, that we are now aligning the nest with the egg we intend to hatch. And we're feeling that on Monday. So on Monday, this is when you are still spiritually in the morning at step 16. It goes to step 17 later on Monday. So we sort of wake up Monday really feeling kind of like a prophecy. Mercury then sextiles Jupiter later on. The significance of that is I know I can do this. I know I got this. I know I can make this happen. And my heart knows it too. The moon has just crossed Mercury earlier than this. So there's this real sense of knowing I got this. Again, this is early. This is what defines early Monday morning, knowing you got this. Then Mercury trines the nodes later in the afternoon. That's another knowing I got this. Mercury at 10, the nodes at 10. So again, Monday, we're really feeling charged up. Then the next big day is Tuesday when Jupiter sextiles the North Node. This again is the same thing. I know I got this. I know I got this. So I think we're feeling a strong sense of confidence. July 10th, my mama's birthday. Happy birthday, mama. Sun trines Saturn. And what this ultimately is, the Sun trining Saturn. Again, this is on Wednesday, July 10th, late at night, right before Thursday. So you might feel this more on Thursday than you do on Wednesday. But this is sort of, you're not in Kansas anymore. This is the knowing that the story has changed, that the narrative has changed. It's all changed now, and changed for the better. And it's got to change. And so I think you kind of feel like you're out of the woods. Look at Venus at 29 at that moment. That ultimately means that, the interesting thing here is this is exactly the same trine. See Venus trining Neptune at 29 and the Sun trining Saturn at 19. So we have the exact Saturn Neptune 1929, Sun Venus 1929. The significance of that right there is, in my opinion, that's the timeline switch. That's the timeline swap. That's when it feels like sort of like a water slide. It's sort of like the way this feels is sort of like when you realize you're getting married and there's no stopping this and the train is taken off and you're just a passenger. Remember I said there's going to be a point where you're a passenger on the ride? This is where that happens. Wednesday night at 11:04 p.m. is when it happens. So you might wake up Thursday on that water slide. Venus then trines Neptune 100%, which is basically, yep, you are not in Kansas anymore. Then Venus enters into Leo, which is like, oh my God, this is going to be a blast. So now we sort of feeling excitement. Our inner child is coming alive. We know that things are actually going to change. Also here, emotionally preparing to face the possibility of disappointment. I hope pinch me, is this real? So there's a little bit of pinch me, is this real kind of stuff going on Thursday, July 11th, around lunchtime. And then the final event of the week is Friday. This is when Venus opposes Pluto. And this is some sort of man or woman up kind of moment where you realize you have to, if you're going to be able to go on this emotional adventure, step 20 and above, here's Sirius, that's the sun's right here, right now on Sirius. But if you're going to go on this emotional adventure, then you realize your self-love vibration has got to be higher. And here's Mercury wanting to fall in love at 15 degrees, 24 net 4, a lot of net 6s going on this day. A lot of net 6s. All right. Excelente. So, as you can feel, we have a bit of an emotional adventure ahead of us, and every sign is going to deal with it differently. So let's talk about that, shall we? Go steep yourself some tea, and let's have our weekly tea time. Yeah, I don't know what happened. The tea boiled over there. I think we got some slow software there in Restream. Restream's fell asleep. Someone woke up there. Hello at Restream, not you, Adam. So this week we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. I'm going to talk about the sun going through Cancer from 16 to 21 degrees. And the sun going through Cancer at 16 to 21 degrees is two things. One, you have your emotional, what your home has to be like, where you have to be nurtured in the moment. And then how does that define your emotional direction? And that's really what the two decans are. We wrap up Monday, 17, 18 on Tuesday, 19, we manifest on Wednesday. Thursday, we start moving into the passion of step 20. By Friday, it's step 21 and starting to get fun. Excuse me. So this is us going down the rapids emotionally. going down the rapids. As things get more exciting, things start picking up. So I want to talk about those two levels of emotion for all 12 signs. Excuse me. Earth in Capricorn, I want to talk about, you're going to have to commit to changes on the other side of these emotions to make it work. You're going to have to commit to Capricorn on the other side of the emotions. So you're going to have to be committed somewhere. So for each of the 12 signs, I'll talk about where you must commit in order to get there. Then we'll talk about that Sun trining Saturn. Remember, I said the Sun trines Saturn and Venus is trining Neptune at the same time. And then we have this new karmic timeline. I'll talk about where you are inserting that new karmic timeline. And then I'm going to talk about Mercury and Venus and Leo. Where in your life must you open up to self-love? Those are the 4 areas we will talk about. Brilliant. All right. Starting with the Aries. Aries, you are, first of all, creating new feelings about life itself. So you have this emotional upgrade about how life is. Life is this way. Is it hard? Is it easy? Is it healing? Is it better? There's a basic emotional foundation about what life is. And what this leads to by the end of the week is, well, if life is this way, then I can have a new sense of security like I've never had before. My sense of security can be something different that I never anticipated. So you're going to really realize that, you may end up with a happy ending, or you may end up retired in a way you didn't think about, or you might end up, being a lot more grounded than you ever imagined. I think for Aries, who will often come from sort of a sky is falling childhood, the fact that the sky's not falling now is profound. Now, this means you're going to have to commit to making changes in your career, leadership, parenting, legacy decisions. Those have to change. So probably a lot of different decisions about future and career and parenting. The big timeline shift that happens has to do with your karma and your relationship to God. So I am noticing that Aries are changing their relationship to God right now, whether they're realizing they are a messenger themselves, or they're realizing they never got to know God very well, or they're realizing they want to ascend like a yogi. But I am seeing all Aries is having some sort of new interest in spirituality, and that interest in spirituality must tie and support, your feelings about life. Your feelings about life must support your spirituality. And with Mercury and Venus moving into Leo, your heart is now opening to the idea of loving yourself on a level that you probably have never imagined. So self-love is now just starting to light up, especially once Venus goes into Leo later in the week on Thursday. Then you really start to light up for the Aries. Brilliant. Taurus. Your thoughts and communication are now emotionally founded in a new level. So this is an emotional attitude about life, dropping a certain emotional attitude and adopting a new emotional attitude. I've seen this happening in my life already, where I am assuming everything is going to be great. And if anything, I'm just trying to enjoy the moment. So, the lack of crisis is fascinating, as I've noticed. Now, this leads to a new attitude on life, which I am experiencing, which is life is to be lived and experienced and loved. And, and so I think Tauruses are having a real, completely new emotional reset about their attitude on life and what they think about, no longer walking on eggshells. Instead, I think deliberately wanting to excite and please. Now, where you have to make some core decisions is what you believe in. If you believe in it, then that means a lot of things have to happen. Believing in your life philosophy, your purpose, making some decisions about where that purpose is going next. And so a lot of life purpose moving forward in an exciting way. All those thoughts and communications in Cancer trying into and support a new role you have in society. Tauruses are moving to a new karmic role in the world. You're being repositioned. This is like literally where you live, to your brand, to how you are seen, to the role you play, the importance that you carry in this given moment. And your attitude and your communication all have to be in concert with this new social role. When it comes to Venus and Mercury and Leo, it's now time to self-nurture on a level that you have never done before. And I know every Taurus has their go-to massage or their go-to feel-good thing, but this is about emotionally cheerleading yourself on a higher level that you've never had before. So the more golden the self-love, the more golden the milk you will create. Gemini. Gemini, you are now having a new emotional bath when it comes to money and manifestation. To feel differently about money. Now, this is probably feeling differently about money in the sense of what you can afford. So you suddenly are like maybe in a new market, maybe you're a new earning market, maybe you're starting to think about owning a home for the first time, maybe you're starting to think about being an independent business person or taking out a second revenue stream, such as a side gig or a weekend gig or Uber or something. But you are now feeling different about your capacity to be productive, your capacity to be fertile, your capacity to draw in customers. You're just feeling more confident about money. Now, this means that you're feeling a lot better about the future. You're probably starting to feel as though you have a lot more options than you once thought. You might be starting to feel like this could go really far and go a lot of places. When you couple that with Jupiter in your sign and you lifting the restrictions on whether you will or won't do something, Geminis are really, in a sense, now to take off and manifest like they have not manifested in over 10 years. Now, for this to happen, you are going to have to make some decisions about where the boundary is between you and someone else, maybe how close you get to someone, whether or not something is inappropriate or not. You're not meant to share everything, so you might have to cut up the shares, so to speak, giving yourself what you deserve and giving others what they deserve. So a lot of boundaries, trust, sexual boundaries have to change for you to become this fertile manifester. Now, all this money manifestation all ties into career and legacy. Geminis and Gemini risings are onto a new path. This is a spiritually called path, but spiritually called may be that you just wanted it in a past life and now it's finally time. It's your time to go do that. Or it might be that you are some sort of a healer or have a very important role to play in the future. But the universe is saying that for Geminis, it's tied. Where you make money is probably also tied to where you're supposed to be spiritually, and pay attention to both. Now, Venus and Mercury moving into Leo means that your self-talk and your thinking is about to get really excitable. You should be having some sort of idea that you just can't let go of. And it's time now to run creatively and see how far the idea goes. As you well know, an idea that always excites you is the idea you need to be pursuing. That's Gemini. All right, Cancers. Cancers, you are now changing how you feel about performing, how you feel about interacting with others, how you feel about exchanging information. You're feeling different about your personality and how you relate, basically. So you're now more relatable. You're now emotionally feeling more relatable or not. This emotional relatability opens up the door for what's possible and what you can do next or what you might want to do next. And then in the long term, this makes you feel different about your character, where you're heading. You're maybe feeling more different. You're feeling differently about what could happen, if you really applied yourself. So I think there's a confidence coming up about what's possible once you really feel good about just the basics, how you dealt with that person, how you dealt with that situation, how you talked to that customer. It's all emotional behavior and response that you're going to feel good about, which leads to a new character. Now, where you must make some decisions is with relationships. You have to make some decisions about where relationships will stop, how far you will go for a particular relationship. So relationship boundaries and relationship potential is super important. Like, where does it stop? What are you committed to? What are you uncommitting from? All right. Now, the energy between your behavior does trine into belief and purpose. So you're becoming a new person that's in alignment with a new purpose. Saturn and Neptune retrograde say the Cancers all are being brought to their next purpose, which means you were meant and destined to be at a certain place at a certain time because your talents and abilities were going to be needed in that place and time. If you don't know what that is, then just focus on changing who you want to change yourself into with the sun in Cancer. Start feeling and behaving differently, and then the purpose will become, I think, evident over time. Now, Mercury and Venus moving into Leo means that your heart is going to start to get excited about just how valuable you really are, what you could really get from yourself, what you could make of yourself if you apply yourself. So I do think you're going to get extremely excited and childlike when it comes to just how priceless you really are, and realizing that you are, in fact, a priceless gift to the human race. And that's the Cancers. Leos. Leos, you have a really interesting place, and I have to say I'm in this place too. You're feeling differently about spirituality and karma, and it's funny because I'm starting to feel like I don't have any more karma, and there's no need to create any more karma. So I'm having my story with karma is really changing, and I'm also feeling, kind of more free to do what I want. So there's some sort of spiritual emotional shift for Leos and Leo risings going on with your karma. And you have a new God connection as a result, a new maybe connection to the heavens or ascended masters, or maybe a new connection to past life people or someone that's passed on. So you're really feeling differently about your spiritual fate and your role on the planet. You're going to have to make some hard decisions about your health and daily work habits. It is time now to change the way you do business day to day so that you can live in a higher frequency every day. And in essence, so that you can work closer with God every day. You also have to cut out where you are wasting, grinding the gears, or having control issues. You shouldn't be having to fight for control over anything right now. Now, all this energy with spirituality and God does trine into personal life transformation. So Leos and Leo risings are currently transforming their life 100%. I myself am. This is like a 2-year plan. And this is tied to your next spiritual calling or what God is asking of you. So, in essence, God is asking Leos and Leo risings to head towards their next promise to God and change their life as necessary to fulfill that promise. Pretty powerful. But Venus and Mercury moving into Leo does mean that you are very self-loving. This is a super selfie time for you. Your thoughts are more loving now. You can really start to accept your beauty, accept where you are, love yourself for who you are. So I think Leos are about to relax with Venus and Mercury moving into their sign. All right. Virgo, the virtuosos. Virgo, you're feeling different about your social life and who your friends are now. You're feeling like you belong maybe in a different neighborhood or a different class or a different setting. You may not know exactly where you feel you belong. You may have to go away somewhere and travel somewhere to realize home doesn't feel like home anymore. So it's really your social life, your circle of friends. You're just feeling differently about where you plug and play in the most. And this is because you're feeling differently about what you want out of society, feeling differently about what you want out of Earth, or what you want to leave behind on the planet. So that feeling differently about your social reputation is leading to, maybe thinking and feeling that life needs to change. With Jupiter in Gemini, I'll just say, Virgos are realizing they have a big career in front of them and a lot of potential for success. So you might be tying it to that career plan, that because of career changes, you feel differently about where you belong. Now, where you have to make some hard decisions is with creativity, love, and around children. You have to be very clear about what your heart wants and doesn't want, what you want for your children, what you can give realistically to your children, and how much you can really commit to a creative project. So a lot of discernment and clarity and self-leadership around love, creativity, and children. Now, that change in your social life is directly related to a change in long-term partnerships and relationships. Virgos and Virgo risings really are now moving on to a whole nother karmic palette of partnerships. It's onto a different karmic story with relationships. So it's quite possible that you're wanting to move to another place in the world because there are people in that place of the world you're meant to connect to, hook up with, or work with romantically or otherwise. So listen to those feelings, Virgos. They're going to bring you to what you need to know. Venus and Mercury in Leo means that Virgos and Virgo risings are feeling sharper with inner faith now. You're going to start to get really excited and start to have faith in something or something about yourself. So that's really exciting. Inner faith explosions with your thoughts and your feelings, which leads to the courage to move or the courage to pick up and transform your life. Fun stuff. All right. Libras. Libras, you are feeling differently about your future, your career, your legacy, parenting, things like that. You're really starting to feel different in those regards about what the future is going to bring for you. And that means that you're going to feel differently about what your legacy actually ends up becoming. You might be letting go of something you thought you would always do, but now starting to realize it was unrealistic or it was something you're wishing for without really understanding yourself enough. So I think you're going to see a lot of Libras changing direction and aiming for a whole new industry or for retirement or a whole new stage in their careers. Now, to be able to pull that off, you're going to have to make some decisions about how you feel or don't feel, make some decisions about home, family, about children, maybe decisions about your parents. If you take care of your parents, you might have to make some decisions in regard to that. So there's a lot of more serious home family decisions that tie into career. Maybe it'll affect, your custody. Maybe it'll affect something that deals with your home. Now, the energy of career and legacy and the changes happening tie into also a lifestyle change. Libras and Libra risings are meant to change the way they live. Maybe you're not meant to be in a high rise or on a construction zone. Maybe you're not meant to be, in an office anymore. Maybe you're not meant to, work in South Florida. Maybe it's meant to be somewhere, cooler. So there's a fated lifestyle change that's directly tied to career legacy. It's not just changing, your industry. It's changing what it feels like to be in that life day to day. Now, Mercury and Venus moving into Leo does say that you're now going to start to fall in love with the side of yourself you're meant to be friends with. So you might realize that you've sort of ignored a part of yourself and you might be becoming friends with that part of yourself now again. And that's probably exciting you and really lighting you up about what's next for you, Libra and Libra risings. All right. Scorpios. Scorpio, you're changing your feelings about what you believe in life and what you believe philosophically. This is a coming of age sort of thing in the sense that have maybe been on some sort of soapbox for a long time. And now you're maybe getting deeper, getting more to the point underneath the details, but really just feeling differently about life and what you believe life is and your philosophy of life or your school of thought or your theory or approach. Now, this will inevitably lead to a refined life purpose that if you believe in a different philosophy, that means that this is heading in a different direction, that the outcome is not what you had once anticipated. So a very murky, transformative change of how you feel in life and change about what you feel is the purpose of life. Now, the opposite side of Earth and Capricorn means you're going to make a lot of decisions about what to think, what to say, what to formally put on paper, what to title yourself, what to, how to correct, etc. So a lot of decisions about your thoughts and communications changing in how you think about it. But that change in philosophy is directly tied to actually love and creativity and personal dreams happening. Saturn and Neptune says it's time for Scorpio's personal dreams to unfold. So the reason why you have a different philosophy about life is probably because you're not getting what your heart wants. You're not in serious joy. You're not elated and excited every day to wake up and start your day. So there is some sort of a manifestation of personal dreams that is starting to happen. Now, Venus and Mercury in Leo does say that self-discipline now, your heart is starting to get excited about some new decisions for yourself, starting to get excited about what this would mean and how you'll grow and the authority you will feel on the inside. So you could say you're sort of looking forward to the promotion that all this commotion in the ocean is bringing the Scorpios. Okay. Sagittarius. Sagittarius, you are having a change of feeling about where the boundary is. That's the boundary with someone else, a situation, how much you give, how far you go, how little you want to go, etc. So changing what you believe in and what your life's philosophy, changing what you believe the line should be and what your philosophy is, Sag, about where that line ought to be, and then feeling for the precision of where it actually draws. So this could be you coming out of relationships, getting closer to situations such at work, or maybe getting out of a situation ship because that's not working for you anymore. These are also boundaries around letting someone in. So maybe you have already committed with Jupiter and Gemini. A lot of Sagittarius hooking up, a lot of Sagittarius changing partners and dance partners. And so this might be you feeling into just how close it can get. And what this leads to is your life changing. Once you are willing to change the boundaries and feel differently or redefine what makes you feel safe, then suddenly what's possible can transform. So be looking for a runway that opens up for takeoff after you really feel safe in the moment. The Earth in Capricorn says you will need to make some decisions about money, manifestations, clients, your business, your revenue streams. You're going to have to make some money decisions if you want to make these emotional changes in your life. Now, these changes are tied to home and family. Saturn and Neptune retrograde in Pisces says that Sagittarius are now creating a new definition of happily ever after, a new definition of home sweet home, a new definition of what is emotional security. And this definition is tied intimately to the new trust, boundaries, and change of life. So Sagittarius are really pulling out the plumbing and putting a new emotional foundation between where to draw the line and how you feel and why. And then Mercury and Venus moving into Leo says that Sagittarius are going to start to fall in love and believe in themselves again. They're getting excited about being them. They're getting excited about learning. They're getting excited about on new adventures. So I think we're really seeing Sagittarius light up once Venus moves into Leo, because that's the house of beliefs, your favorite house, which is great. Capricorns, the captivators. Capricorns, you are having a change of feelings about partnerships and relationships. You are realizing that you have been relating maybe in unhealthy ways in your relationships, and realizing that maybe you're bringing emotional baggage to the table. Maybe you have emotional prejudice going in. Maybe you're expecting the shoe to drop, and so therefore it is. So there's emotional entanglement that is, probably keeping both parties a little dimmer than they would be otherwise. Now, this means after changing your feelings about relationships, you're going to probably have a new direction set for where partnership is going, or a particular partnership. So this probably puts your partnerships onto a different line, a different direction of where they are headed as a result of feeling differently in those day-to-day relationships. Now, the Earth in Capricorn means that you ultimately will make some decisions about how you behave and what you will do, or how you respond, or how you will put yourself out there. So a real character behavior shift in policy, or a shift in the way you behave or respond. Now, the thoughts and relationships, the relationships and partnership changes that are happening about how you feel tie directly into a whole new attitude about life that Capricorns and Capricorn risings are adopting. That new attitude is the new karmic channel. So the way you tell the difference between one karmic channel and another karmic channel or timeline with Capricorns is the attitude their mind is taking. You're about to take on a whole new attitude, and this attitude is tied to making these relationships work in your life. So interesting stuff going on with that. Now, this new attitude, I think, brings a possibility of real self-trust. With Venus and Mercury moving into Leo, now you really start to trust yourself in an exciting way. And when a Capricorn trusts themselves, a Capricorn knows they can do anything. It's sort of an Eisenhower can-do energy. So I think the exciting part for you Capricorns this week is that you really start to get excited about what's possible now that you've cleaned out relationships and tied it to your attitude and made some behavior corrections to boot. Alrighty. Aquarius. Aquarius, you're feeling differently about daily health, work, routines, what you put your time and energy into, day to day life. Really feeling differently maybe about the tools you use or the tools you work around, or what you want to tool with. So there's a lot of different feelings about the moment to moment that's happening for you. And that is making you have a whole new outlook on life. So Aquas and Aqua Risings are feeling very differently about work and life and where their lifestyle is going and the kind of lifestyle that they want to have in the future. And this is a lot of really important work because the better you feel, Aqua, the more magic you'll be able to pull off at a later time. So I think Aquas are leveraging themselves into a daily life that's going to allow them to come into their powers and start to do some cool magic tricks with spiritual technology. Now, for this daily life to work, you're going to have to make some decisions about whether or not you have faith. You have to commit to that faith before you feel that faith. You have to commit to ending some karmic patterns if you want to change your lifestyle and stuff like that. So there is a subconscious commitment and responsibility necessary to make this daily lifestyle change. Now, the lifestyle change does try into a change in revenue streams. Saturn and Neptune retrograde says that Aquas have a path of what they're meant to manifest, how much they're meant to manifest, how much that money will actually beget more money. And so there's a whole new money manifestation timeline that's directly tied to daily life and work. So what the planets are basically saying, Aqua, is if you get your daily life into the right vibe, you'll find yourself on the abundance train. Venus and Mercury moving into Leo says that you're going to be really heartfelt when it comes to self-love, your marriage, and starting to really feel greater love in your relationship. So I think Aquas are really starting to love the ride and starting to really love being who they are. That's the other aspect, I think. And when Venus opposes Pluto, they have to own that self-love for themselves and keep their ego from stomping all over with Pluto opposing. All right. I just realized I could have done that for all of them, but I guess we've said enough tonight. And then finally, the Pisces. Pisces, you are emotionally having a change of your emotional field about creativity and love. That now it's time to really get excited creatively and to fall in love with love itself and to fall in love with your children and fall in love with your projects, to really just get juicy, head over heels when it comes to creativity and love. Now, this will lead to a new personal dream. This will lead to a new vision for where life can go or will go next. So you are falling in love with the dream, I think, and allowing your feelings to believe, I think, is part of it. Some of the work, though, with the opposite side is that you'll need to make some decisions about your social life, who you are in the world and who you are not in the world. You also have to make some decisions about friends as to whether or not they are aligned with what you are here to do. So some hard responsibility in social life and friends. However, this energy of personal dreams trines into Saturn and Neptune in the house of behavior and character, which means your personal dreams are meant to create this amazing character. This amazing character that you're becoming is going to foster your personal dreams. So it really is a whole new Pisces 7.0, a new amazing version of your operating system and what your personal dreams are. And if you're doing everything right, you are falling in love with that. Now, Mercury and Venus in Leo says that you are loving the body now, that you're going to really start to open up and fall in love with your body, fall in love with being in the moment, fall in love with living in the moment. So starting on Thursday, it ought to feel really joyful, lighter, healthier in your body. And you'll find if you don't have really good nutrition and stuff like that, it's going to bum you out. So you are at a point now, Pisces, where you have to be high vibe with all your food and how you treat your body. All right. That is the Tea Time Horoscope for you, my friends. Remember, those are released on Tuesdays on YouTube, Wednesdays in the Serious Joy application. We're going to take a little break right now. And when we come back, we have Astromingle. My guest, Michele Jones, is here. And we're going to talk about colon hydrotherapy and also how to clean out some of that emotional tumor stuff inside of us. Keep streaming. Michele's here in about 4 minutes. This zodiac weather is from Saturday, July 6th to Friday, July 12th, 2024. Looking ahead first at the weekend forecast. Over the weekend, we're going to find some emotional stability as we ease into a new inner emotional home. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and cozy. Step 15 means Venus rules the day. You are feeling pretty and you're opening up to greater love. Juno's opposing Saturn, so you are also clicking into a new reality. And it's Love Fest Day. Tell everyone you love that you love them. You're falling in love with a new feeling about the future. On Sunday, it's sunny and joyful. Step 16 means that Neptune rules this day. This is a spiritual learning day. You will feel the divine mother of the divine feminine. You are choosing self-love, and with the moon in Leo, it's not difficult to do. Zipping ahead to the week, the 5-day mood forecast. Over the course of the week, you're going to commit now to a new emotional home, and you could say you are reversing childhood. On Monday, it's sunny and celebrating. Step 17 means Saturn rules the day. You're going to feel dedicated. You are manifesting a new attitude on life. Mercury is trining the North Node, so your mind is in alignment with the solution and also your belief. Venus is sextiling Uranus, so you're opening up now to the possibilities of what you can manifest. And with the moon in Leo, you are celebrating. On Tuesday, it's sunny and convinced. Step 18 means Mars rules the day. I feel activated today. You are understanding a new definition of joy. With Jupiter sextiling the North Node, again, your mind is completely on board the process. And the moon shifts into Virgo, so things become hyper-aware and impossible to deny. On Wednesday, it's sunny and rather sober. Step 19 means Earth rules the day. This is a day where you are manifesting a new emotional way of being, which means you may have to go with the flow and sort of nurture yourself. You will feel productive. You're receiving spiritual miracles. Things are coming in. And with the sun trining Saturn, you are sitting up straight in your chair because you know this is a new spiritual timeline. On Thursday, it's cloudy with a chance of witchy. Step 20 means the moon is in pure form. And the moon is in Virgo and then Libra. So you're going to feel hyper-aware and then maybe self-aware or self-conscious. You might feel a little edgy. Don't worry, this too shall pass. With Venus trining Neptune, you're going to feel the edges of fate unfolding. Then Venus moves into Leo, and you'll probably feel the heart come online and the inner child wanting to play. And then on Friday, it's sunny and breezy. Step 21 is when it starts to get fun. Jupiter rules the day. You will feel relief on this day and also begin to feel something new is opening up. Venus opposes Pluto, so it's never been a better time than now to embrace self-love. The sun is sextiling Juno, so you're going to make this your new reality. And with the moon in Libra, things really do feel breezy, easygoing, and relatable.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
MINGLE, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented light workers and innovative influencers of our time. The planets tell us that we are currently flushing old emotional issues out of our storylines and consequently out of our bodies. And tonight's guest is an expert at both feeling and releasing. Michele R. Jones is an educator, a coach, a colon hygienist, an NLP master, a Reiki master, and a hypnotherapist. Michele graduated with a master's in theology from Vanderbilt University. Prior to working in private practice for herself, she was a Montessori educator for 12 years. Michele's primary goal is to share in the learning process with each of her clients and students and explore full body ascension with an emphasis on gut health, food, and energetic alignment. Please send some waves of love and gratitude to my guest tonight, Step 11 Cancer, Michele R. Jones. Yay!
Howdy,
Hi.
y'all. Hi there, Sensei Christopher. Thank you so much. So happy
Thank
to
you.
be
It's so
here.
nice to meet you.
It's
Oh,
nice
thank
to
you.
meet
Your energy is wonderful.
Thank you. I met you at Unite the Light, my friends.
Oh, did we meet? Okay, terrific.
We met, and it was a great something I usually don't do, which is selfies.
Okay,
And
awesome. I'm glad I was
I
polite.
went.
Good.
You were fabulous,
Okay,
and
good.
the whole gathering. I just really want to acknowledge the reason why I think I'm here today is because I was there then.
Okay, interesting. Well,
Yeah.
this is wonderful. And where do you reside in the world?
I am in Nashville, where the next Unite the Light is.
Yay! Okay, I assumed, but I didn't want to assume because NashvilleColonCare.com is your website. So
Yes,
I love
yes,
that.
yes,
You
yes.
um and such an interesting a step 11 cancer, I don't know if you know, is a cancer that is all about integrity and health, first of all. So it seems like you are really living your step number. Just to back up a little bit, how did you get on this path of, being a colon hygienist? Like, how did this begin?
Yeah, well, because God is really funny, right? Like,
Yeah.
I serve a funny God. So I went to divinity school and,
Duty school, that's so funny.
divinity school, yeah,
Oh, I thought you said
and
duty school. I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe we're going there."
oh, we're gonna go
Divinity
right there.
school.
No,
So
no,
you
no,
went to
this yeah.
God. That's probably past life, you think? What brought you into that? Yeah, that's interesting.
I would say that I was really motivated by what motivated people. So I really wanted to understand what made people tick. I grew up between New York and also I have a very coastal family. I have most of my family in California now as well. And so I was just really curious about this whole big world in between. And I ended up at Vanderbilt. And spirituality, I think, was always where my heart kind of went. And I was a client of colon hydrotherapy after I got out of divinity school because I was teaching some classes and probably doing too much and got mono.
Whoa.
So yeah, so I got mono when I was writing my thesis, and I went to a place that I honestly thought was like a yogic science institute, and they ended up having like colon hydrotherapy, and I seem to have missed that detail, which is hilarious, but
Wow.
it
Getting
happens.
into it, yeah.
And I was thankful because my other kind of friends that had contracted it stayed really sick. And after 2 weeks of being down in Palm Beach, I came back and I was great. And I just kind of realized that there was something in the water, literally.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so I was a client of this long before I did it. I was an educator and never thought that this would be what God would want me doing to help to educate people, which is kind of important now. And again, no one grows up. And I once said this in my office and I offended someone, but I said, no one grows up and says, hey, I'm going to become a colon hygienist.
Yeah. Right.
Only one client said to me, "No, actually, that happens." I was like, "I'm so sorry. It's not my reality." So, yeah. And I would say, and you know this, and uh, so many people are learning this that food is really kind of this great thing that we've inverted, right? It's not
Yeah.
great for us, and it's really surprising when we look at countries like France and Italy and other places that don't have modification. And,
Mhm.
um, it's not really helping us, and I feel like people are looking for answers as to what can help.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is a colon hygienist? Tell me what the one does.
So, a colon hygienist, what I perceive my mission to be is to help to support people in cleansing their bodies
Okay.
and helping them. I mean, if you think about it, the meat suit, it's part of our spiritual ascension in a very
Yeah.
significant way, the vehicle. And what I do is the first thing that when anyone comes in, I obviously acknowledge them because they've made a commitment at a level, no pun intended, a gut level that not everyone makes. And so, the acknowledgement around that and the importance of that is to be honored, right? And I try to educate my clients because we never learned, you know, biology nor chemistry with practical applications, unfortunately, as it relates to the body, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So we talk about, I mean, like you fill out a mini autobiography. We talk about what you're doing, what you're not doing, where you are, where do you want to be? Where do you want to be? And never judgment. Judgment is never for me to render. Like if somebody's in the middle of the cleanse and they come in and say, "Oh my my God, Michelle, I ate like a whole salami. I'm going to be like, okay, that's a great lesson. Like you've learned, and we learn, and that is a true story. I work in Music City, so I see a lot of different, kinds of people, from people just like you and I, to athletes, to musicians. And so it's like a range of lifestyle and experiences, for
Hmm.
sure, for sure. So we talk about where folks want to get. The most important thing that I think that people learn, and it's like a little theory that I have, that I learned from Dr. Diadamo, which is figuring out like what your blood type is and how your digestive enzymes are kind of linked to that.
Oh, okay.
hmm Because we don't produce digestive enzymes. We're born with the number of enzymes that we're going to have throughout our life. So, like when my
Huh.
little grandma used to say, "Hey, I can't really eat onions after 7 p.m." She might not have been able to eat them at 7 a.m. either. They might not have been optimized for her. And
Huh.
so the theory behind Dr. Diadamo, you might remember him, Sensei, from like the 1990s. Eating right for your blood type was Dr.
Right.
Diadamo's
That's
work.
what I
Yeah.
thought. Everyone was like, certain some blood types eat meat, certain blood types are more veggie
Yeah.
based. Okay.
And it's kind of interesting because based on what people fill out, in their questionnaire, you can kind of start to guess what their blood type might be. And so I kind of freak people out and be like, "Are you an A blood type?" And they're like, "How did you know that, Michelle?" And it's usually because your hobbies are reading, and, you like to do things like garden, and you prefer fish, and you don't really love meat, and you never liked it and were forced to eat it as a kid. So, yeah, we
Hmm.
just kind of talk and get to know each other first.
Right. So that's fascinating. So tell us, can you quickly just tell us how digestion changes by blood type? There's only like
Yeah,
5 types, right? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So O's are kind of the oldest blood type out there, right? They're
Okay.
they're the original blood type. And you have obviously O positives, you have O negatives. O's are the ones that they're like, "Yeah, I love to work out." They're usually very extroverted by nature. They come in, it'd be 7 a.m. and they'll be like, "Hi, Michelle." You're like, "Hi, good morning. It's awesome to see you." And they're usually great sleepers. Like O's have an incredible like sleeping ability, and it's
Hmm.
like their superpower. And they are the folks that can break down, when somebody says, "Yeah, I'm doing paleo and it's fantastic. And I've taken off all of this weight." The first thing I'll say is, "Are you an O?" Because they tend to enjoy eating that much meat, whereas a lot of the other types really don't like it. You know, um, B blood types, they're a little bit of, the nomad, if you will. They evolved, anthropologically from folks kind of crossing land bridges, going from Africa, to a whole other part of the world, to Asia. And they're the folks that will they'll eat whatever is available. I'm a bee, I'm a nomad. And so it's like, yeah, in the summertime, we eat fish. And in the wintertime, we'll eat meat. And, it's just a very different rhythm with bees. We usually like gentle exercise. We're usually great at eating fruits and vegetables, whereas O's will be like, "Yeah, I made the salad and I forgot to take it." Whereas a bee is like, "Oh my God, how could you possibly forget your vegetables? Like, I love him, you know?
Hmm.
And so there's like a very distinctive, and they just kind of go with the flow. Like a nomad isn't going to freak out, or like a B blood type, if they can't eat for a day. They'll be like, "Yeah, I'm traveling. Food isn't that great. I'll just go with it." And
And so
so
is the digestive tract okay with that? Is that what you're saying? Like
it
you can just
totally
like,
is okay. They're
okay.
the intermittent fasters. They do great with it. One of the things about bees, which is really interesting, Christopher, is that chicken, which what American hasn't like consumed a lot of chicken?
1 million birds
God
by the time
bless,
we're 30.
right?
Yeah.
God bless. And chicken is not the friend of the bee. And so a
Oh,
lot of inflammation, because like if you can't break down, synthesize, and utilize something,
wow.
can't put it to use, what does the body say? oh, it's waste. It's waste. And
Oh.
so a lot of times waste goes where? To the most benign of places, right? Fat cells. Again, we're born with the same number of fat cells that we'll actually die with. They just kind of inflate or deflate, right?
Huh.
Yeah. And so, one of my theories about helping people to take off weight is that weight is just inflammation.
Right.
I mean, that's really all it is. And people do a lot of self-shaming around what weight really is. They associate it with their habits and they're doing something wrong. And I see people every single week in my office that eat less calories than I do and weigh probably twice as much and 3 times as much as I do. And I just want people to not shame themselves around that anymore.
Yeah.
And support them in, wow, there must be something that your body isn't breaking down and it can't
Yes.
synthesize and utilize.
Mm.
A's in the South, living in the South, it's kind of funny with A's because A's are the ones that they never liked meat. But, in America, we show our children that we love them by eating meat. And they're usually the ones that have had their gallbladders out by
Wow.
and appendicitis also.
Because it's just toxic to them.
It's just they can't actually utilize and the waste builds up. And a lot of times they're the clients that are like, yeah, when I was an adolescent, my appendix just like exploded in my body and nobody even knew I was sick. So it's kind of an interesting when you start to see these patterns. And then ABs are kind of the combination of A's and B's together. And they're really the first blood type that, came to be from people interfacing with each other and not just the environment. So ABs have a little bit more choice, and it's not a limitation, but at the same time, we're not as familiar with ABs because they truly are the newest blood type and they're the rarest, positives and negatives.
Huh.
But yeah, I mean, anybody that I've worked with that has, which I would say I'm a book pusher, right? Like I'm going to push people to like empower themselves, like, because I believe my clients are the experts on them.
Yeah.
Right. On a good day, I'm just kind of sort of the expert on this in my office, but you're the expert on you. And so what I really want to do is bring forward that expert in a way where living in the meat suit, living in the body feels really good. Because if you're coming to me and you're going to do colon hydrotherapy, you want to feel better. And the only reason anybody does it is because it works and it's efficient and it's effective.
And so what is it? We've walked around
let's
this
get
all
down
night.
to what it is. Absolutely.
What is it?
I should have
But
brought
thank
the
you for the breakdown.
anatomical chart.
Yeah. So just to wrap up AB real quick, it sounds like AB. So A sounds like they pretty much don't want meat.
They're natural pescatarians usually, or vegetarians, or they could even be fruitarians, really. Yeah.
So AB ends up probably being very light meat eaters, then is what you're saying, and still not handling chicken very well.
Typically, but some A's can do chicken really well, depending on their genotype. So you have to marry in kind of their body structure.
Okay.
And there's some very specific ratios and calculations that you could do to put it all together.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I interrupted you on what it is. What is colon hydrotherapy?
No, that's okay. So I'm thinking to myself, because I watch LOL. So I'm thinking like in my head, like I have like Scott Cruz and like I have like Chris Reck like in my mind, and like I have like Devin, like, oh God, here I go with the potty stuff. So
yeah, nice. Thanks for the promo.
Yeah, exactly. Good little promo there. So legitimately what it is you're inserting, right, a speculum.
Okay.
To seal the rectum.
Seal it. Okay.
Seal it. You have to seal it because if that much water is going through, we want the waste that's moving out to go in the right direction, which is no different than when we go into the bathroom and we flush the potty. That's where we want it going, right?
Okay.
So I have clients that will self-insert. In California, you have to do that because it's kind of self-prescribing and you're doing it for yourself and you actually have that constitutional right to self-prescribe. You also can have a hygienist with you, which I can tell you in the part of the country that I live now, most people are like, "Oh God, Michele, please do it." Sometimes I'll encourage clients of mine to learn it for themselves because that was kind of a silver lining in COVID was that people realized, wow, I really might be on my own with some of this, you know?
I have no problem with that idea. I have
Yes, yes,
no
yes.
problem with that idea.
Right. No, I did. I
I
did.
am a pioneer.
And so literally, it's a double-sided speculum, my friend. So you have a thin water line that goes in, and then you have the evacuation line that's going out. The client begins to feel water, and the longer that I do this, I've been doing this about as long as you've been doing what you're doing. It was back in 2005. So the
Wow.
last time that there was probably a new moon and Sirius conjunction.
Wow, that's interesting. That's
which is
interesting.
really interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a funny time of it. But what I believe is that when people start to feel the water, I've become more interested in what's moving out of them
Mhm.
than with it's the water. It's not the waste. It's literally the water. And folks immediately, I mean, Christopher, it's hilarious. I have people that have come in that maybe they had a knee replacement, or I've worked with folks that are involved at training camp and they've been beaten up, and they'll be like, "Girl, why does my knee feel better when I get off of your table?"
Mm,
And so inflammation is inflammation, right? And so
right.
the body, with that much water going into us, because I believe that, physics has now said we're 90% water.
Yeah.
So it's literally an opportunity for us to change the waters. And I feel like, especially with our ascension process now, how water and light is interfacing
Mm,
is very, very fascinating in us as we're kind of leaving, a density of 3D, if you will, and elevating.
it's sort of whenever I clean the carpets, I'm obsessed with the water I'm dumping out of the machine. Like, that's
No,
something. You're
that's it.
just like,
That's
whoa,
it.
look at all this stuff that's in the carpet. Oh my God.
No,
It's like
that's
I'm
it.
thinking
That's
of,
it.
yeah. It's the
That's
same thing where you're
exactly
just like,
it.
what?
It's the same
Yeah.
thing. People can't believe it. And they're just like, oh my God. And then people start to ask you things like you've heard culturally, like, hey, did John Wayne really have 25 pounds of like waste in him when he died or something, or stuff about Elvis?
You hear about
And
that.
there's,
Yeah. Oh my God. Elvis. Yeah.
God
Yeah.
bless. I mean, he probably died from sepsis, right?
He did.
Because
That's what
he
they
was
say.
he's so
From,
toxic.
yeah.
And so,
From painkillers, he was
yeah,
constipated. Just for everyone wants to know.
so it's
Constipated from
terrible.
painkillers. Yeah.
It's very sad. It's tragic. And if you think about it, at the time that he passed, there wasn't a prevalence of painkillers. Think about nowadays, right? And I say this as the mom of a child that played hockey. They put kids on painkillers. So what is
Mm,
that starting, to do to the colon? And so, just to kind of get to the specifics of how does it work, like you have three parts to your large intestine. Okay. And it makes up about 5.5 to 6 feet, which is your colon, your large intestine. It connects way back in that ascending colon, kind of where your appendix are. And back in there is where a lot of people, because your small intestine is depositing the waste out into the large intestine so it can move out of the body, so you can evacuate it. And a lot of times those little A's that we were talking about, bless them, but they can't eliminate the amount of waste that the body is producing. And you'll sometimes get that in the small intestine, which is what people call like SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, because there's waste that's hanging out back in there. And so the colon in Japan, they use colon hydrotherapy as prep for a colonoscopy, which is really interesting. And we think of the Japanese, it's a very healthy culture overall. Only about 2 feet of your colon kind of evacuates at a time. So the descending is usually the first session, the transverse or the horizontal colon, as the British call it, or Australians, runs from your spleen over to your liver. And then you have your ascending colon, which is that third, that last segment. And that runs from where your liver is, from the hepatic flexure, all the way down back to where you would have your appendix. And then it connects with your small intestine. And just a little disclaimer, because I know you love disclaimers, Christopher. So I'm a hygienist, right? And I said this to Noelle when I met with her when I was in Costa Rica, and I said to her, not a doctor, don't play one on TV. Like, this is educational information and hygienic. And I really, yes, I have doctors that refer to me. I refer to them also. So I just want everybody to clear, this is hygiene. This is like brushing your teeth.
How can you argue with flushing yourself out with water? Like, how can that be bad? Now,
I know.
do you use a specific type of water? I mean,
So the water that I use, I obviously, I believe in structured water. Like when you have your blue hydrogen water, I have diamond water that sits like on 4 carats of diamonds with like some quartz underneath it to magnify it. So yeah, I'm a little bit of like a water fanatic. So my water goes through carbon filter, it goes through UV filter. So it's 36 filters. I also have one on my overall place where my office is as well. So it's slightly alkaline, which kind of makes our body super happy. And, we produce more serotonin in our gut than we do in our actual brain. 70% of our serotonin comes from that large intestine.
wow.
So that's some of the great things that I think is going to happen on the emotional and the mental health front, which is the realization, and again, God willing, to stop the shaming of, oh, I have this chemical imbalance, or, oh, there's something wrong with my brain, it's broken. A lot of it is emanating from the gut. And I'm thankful that conversation is really coming to the forefront with people now, in traditional as well as in integrative medicine.
So when you say 3 sessions, is that in one sitting?
No, my friend. No. So for instance, if somebody was doing like colonoscopy prep, they might see me, say, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then after they saw me Wednesday morning, they'd have their colonoscopy. They'd be able to see all 3 parts. I encourage my clients to do that in about 3 weeks, unless I have clients that are traveling from other places. I see folks from, as far away as Thailand. I mean, I have folks that have come, or if I'm working with somebody that plays, say in San Diego, but they want to come and see me, they might do 3 sessions over like 3 or 4 days, which is, it's not a big deal. But I like to tie the habits and the behaviors to the sessions, because that gives people some space to really get a handle on what is my blood type, because a lot of people don't even know that now. Right? Yeah. And then getting the book, which I tell everybody, if you're going to get Changing Your Genetic Destiny by Dr. Diadamo, get it from Riff's books, because Amazon treats it like a commodity. And sometimes the book is like $90. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
So people will go on ahead and like get the book, start to plug it in, and then realize like, oh, wait, that chicken isn't really working for me. And then they'll see me and they'll be like, yeah, Michele, I took this out. I've added this in. And usually by 3 weeks, which this, it takes about 3 weeks to make a habit, right? So people feel really good. And they're just like, wow, okay, what do I do next? Because I'm feeling really good and I want to keep feeling really good. I mean, that's the only reason anybody does this.
Mm-hmm. Well, I imagine it's also good for your skin. I notice, so what are the benefits? Well, let's back it up. How often should we clean ourselves out with holy water?
No, exactly.
Like a holy
Exactly.
water enema. We're basically a holy water enema, right? Like
Right. So technically, an enema only does about the first 16 inches,
Okay.
right?
That was the
And
question.
so
What's the difference? Okay.
colon hydrotherapy goes all the way around and can do actually 6 feet.
Because he
The
uses a
whole
machine.
it does. There's also some folks use like a gravity flow method. I've been trained on gravity flow, the pressurized system. I mean, I've worked back in the day when it was like an open system. It's an interesting thing. I prefer a closed system. I think it's sanitary. I think after COVID, I think airborne or cross contamination is a real thing. Um, Not fear, just a real thing. And I also think more importantly, preserving dignity. Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a hygienist in there, like that's the best thing,
Yeah.
is everybody wants to feel like, whoa, okay, I can see this, but nobody is offended by this. Yeah, no, because I love people. Like I love people, but I don't love them that much. If it were an open system, my friend, I couldn't do this work.
Got you. Okay. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so everybody's dignity is preserved, and it's about 30 minutes in actual session time, right? Like 30 minutes, like table time. I always say for women, leave yourself the full 55 minutes door to door. And for men, you don't have a uterus. Your endocrine system does not infuse the way that ours does, right? And so, like, your colon tends to be much more stable. There are far fewer men that are constipated than women,
Hmm.
reality, because of our menstrual cycles. Yeah.
Huh.
That's
Okay.
usually very intimately linked to bowel function.
Now, does this like wipe out flora and make you have to start over in that regard?
So that's kind of, I would say, a bit of an urban myth, right? So if you
Okay.
think about it, you have thousands of species living in that biome, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
1,000 species and you have trillions of good bacteria, not great bacteria. And it's working symbiotically in the body with every organ to bring about homeostasis, right? It's a good idea because most of us in America don't have enough of the good stuff, the pro and the prebiotic, because our soil. So I tell everybody take a great probiotic, get something with at least 6 strains, switch it up monthly, like it's a food source, get whatever is organic and on sale, and rotate it. There's a lot of, I would say, depletion in our soil that if we live somewhere else, like our soil in our lands becomes what our gut is, right? And so, yeah, it doesn't wipe it out, but I want people to be in awareness of taking, good probiotics.
And what is a good probiotic? I mean, they
Good
seem to be
pro.
a huge range. There's
There is.
billions. Some are refrigerated, some aren't refrigerated. There's
Yeah,
billions and trillions, and there's for men and there's for women. I'm just like,
exactly.
I feel like I don't know. I have
I know.
no clue. I'm in front of that store.
I
And when
know.
you ask
It's a
like someone
lot.
like Whole Foods, they're like, you can tell they were trained by the sales rep. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, there, for instance, like New Chapter makes like a great, like they're I would say a really great company with a lot of integrity. I also think, and this is a little plug for Dr. Gundry. I think that some of his stuff is interesting that he's been coming out with. He's done a lot of stuff and has some really cool probiotics that are available now and prebiotics. Um, I think that for men and for women, looking at different sources is not bad because for women, you're getting into vaginal health as well. I mean, it's like a whole, it affects everything, right? So when you're standing there, and I don't mean this to be cliche, but trust your gut.
Yeah.
Like if you're there and you're looking and you pick something up and it seems interesting, ask yourself, ask your body, just like you do with other food. Do I want this? And you might not know the answer. And you might ask the guy at Whole Foods or the, woman at Whole Foods, hey, what do you think of this? I also tell people do research. There's so much available now online in terms of the latest and greatest that you can have access to.
What about foods with natural active pre and probiotics like kombucha?
Kombucha is great.
And yogurt.
Kimchi. Yeah. So yogurt is amazing. Again, this is where I go back to know your blood type. So I'm not giving this as like a general, like, hey, everybody should eat Greek yogurt, right? Because if you're an O blood type, you might not feel good after that. Like I know for me as a B, right? So when I was in California, everybody would push kombucha on me.
I know. California does push kombucha on you.
Kombucha. Michele, come on, you gotta teach us kombucha. It's everywhere.
Yeah, yoga studios everywhere is like, yeah.
Go for hot yoga. There's 8 different kinds of kombucha.
I know.
So, you drink it, and Christopher, it didn't make me feel good.
I don't like kombucha either in me.
Do you know your blood type? Are you a B?
I think I am a B. Yeah. I have to verify it.
You're gonna have to ask your mama. I'm gonna be curious.
Yeah, she's starting to I don't know how I lost touch with it. I don't know where, and all these new online portals, and I cannot. It's so funny.
It's interesting because fermented foods that are supposed to be so great, like kimchi, sauerkraut, as a B, I've never cared for them, and I thought somehow that I was like deficient or defective as a colon hygienist because I was like, oh my god, I don't like. Well, guess what? Nomad genotypes, fermented foods are inflammatory for us.
Okay. So who likes the
kombucha?
Yeah.
The fermented food, a lot of A's. A lot of A's are totally into the fermented. And there are some O's that can do it also that are really like, yeah, I drink this and I just feel incredible. Some of it is also the acidity of it, right? So it kind of makes sense that an O that can break down a lot of meat could deal with something that's like kind of fizzy and a little bit more acidic and not as alkaline, right? So you start to just kind of see patterns. And I think fermented foods are amazing depending upon if it's good for you specifically.
So you recommend just experimenting ultimately? Absolutely.
That's the best way to learn. Now, of course, a lot of us need a baseline of what clean is because sometimes like when you have a super stuffy nose and you're just like, I can't smell anything, I can't taste anything. Congestion in the colon can yield the same thing. Like, I don't know how I feel when I eat this because I always feel bloated, Michele.
Right. I hate feeling bloated. Ugh. What about apple cider vinegar? Does it have any magic in the gut?
For many people, it does. Not for you if you're a B, not for I if it does as a B, but yes, for many, many people, it does. You know, my son was taking it for a while and he's like, I'm supposed to have all these health benefits, Mom, and I don't feel good from it. A's that drink apple cider vinegar are like, oh my gosh, I found like the fountain of youth. Like, it's so good for my hair. It's good for my skin. It's good for this. It's good for that, And other people are just like incredible with it. It depends. And sometimes we have to try something on for a little while until we know if it works for us or if it doesn't. For sure. Okay.
So what would you say is like the A to Z of good gut health? Like what kind of gut maintenance should I be doing?
So the first thing, the first thing that I think that you are doing, my friend, is I think that you are eating organic foods, right?
Yes.
That is
organic fiber. Exactly.
That is numero uno.
Yeah.
Because if we're eating things that are highly processed, right? Anything that has corn, wheat, sugar, soy, like in this country, you're probably dealing with something that's been modified. And so from there, I would say that the best thing across the board for everyone, and this is I say to folks, if you do two things, if you can eat an organic diet and figure out your blood type and your genotype, you will be able to navigate the chessboard that is our food supply in America. Because, so I have a little bit, I know you make up words, Christopher, often, and I love it. Like, and I put air quotes, and I'll give credit when I say thoughtware, right? Because my Gemini rising is like in a big thoughtware. But one of the things that I say about food is backwards food is doof. Doof. That's what I call in my office. It's not food. Doof. It's doof. It's doof. It's backwards. When we were kids, we were able to at least eat fast food. Oh, I like that doof up there. Yay. When we were kids, we could like eat fast food. And it was bad for us because it was frozen, right? It was frozen. Like the hamburger patties were frozen. Right. French fries were frozen. Like it was frozen. That was what was considered not healthy. Now the definition has really shifted to where if you look at, and I don't mean to be like Debbie Downer, it's a point of education though, and concern. The largest segment right now being diagnosed with colorectal cancer is between 29 and 40.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, I've been doing this, Christopher, for 19 years. I've done over 25,000 sessions. I have never heard of anything like this in young people like we're hearing now. This was something folks like in their 80s, in their 70s. And I think that that might support what's going on with our food supply. You know, when I was in divinity school, and one of the first works of ministry that I did was I counseled parents that found out like the worst thing a parent could ever hear, which is that your child is terminal. And there was one floor, and it was the fourth floor at the hospital at Vandy. And now there's like 11 floors.
Wow.
And we're always building the next floor.
Huh. So, Taco Doof. There's all sorts of fast doof places out there. Fast doof. That's good. That's a good thing to claim.
Exactly. And the other thing that's interesting is that you could get really expensive doof. And I'm not going to name names of restaurants, but my clients that are from Nashville know that there are certain restaurants that somebody will go and they spent, couple of $100. Yeah. And I'm just like, how was the doof, y'all? How was the doof? And they're like, ugh, it's right, Michele, it is doof. And so like, I'm that friend that is like, oh, is it like a farm to table restaurant? Is it clean?
Right. There's lots of chains like PF Doofs. Like.
Yeah, that's one of them. PF Doofs.
Doof Factory.
Doof Factory. I like that one. No, it's true.
Doof Factory.
And this is what's so, and I don't want to say nefarious, but I can't find another adjective right now, is that food is good. Food is fun. Food is to be enjoyed. It's to be loved. It's to be savored. It's like we break bread with people that we love. We're supposed to enjoy it. And so it's hard for people, i.e., I don't think my dad's watching this, but if he is, in that generation to accept that this food is really backwards, because my supposition is that if it's modified, how do we know it's not modifying us?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it is. I think that's been the goal. I mean, from what I understand too, I mean, if you want to go like ancient aliens, allegedly the grain supply was used to modify human DNA. That allegedly aliens used food to modify the human race. It wasn't a shot. We didn't get a a shot. We'll just leave it at that. We were
Hmm.
modified other ways
Hmm.
through food.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely and I question just how much food we actually need. And I mean
Yes.
it's a rabbit hole because when my body loves intermittent fasting.
So
If
does
that's
mine, because
if
I
that's a
bet you're a
sign.
bee. Yeah.
Because I literally once I eat the food, I'm like, okay, day's over. My body is pretty much happy running just on, I don't know, sunlight.
No, I've totally had periods of my life like that as well,
Hmm.
my friend. And I think that we move in and out of that. Like when I'm
Yeah,
in Costa Rica, I can like live on fruit and like a little bit of fish and just feel incredible.
me too.
It's just and I also feel like as some folks are in their process of ascending, I feel like folks are cutting down and saying, "Hey, I really eat one meal a day."
I'm seeing that trend everywhere. People are
Yes.
eating one meal, pretty much a meal and like a little snack
Yes.
is like pretty much it. Like, and that snack's
Yeah.
either before the meal or there's a snack after the meal. But
Mhm.
a lot of people I know that's what it's coming down to. I'm only one meal a day. People are like, you have to eat more. I'm like, my body doesn't want any more.
Doesn't
I'm
need
really,
more.
I really don't. Like, it's amazing.
Do you juice, Christopher? Are you juicing? Are you doing
Um,
like
I've been doing like master cleanse kind of juicing where
yeah,
I'm doing like lemon, cayenne pepper, and syrup. I'll do that. Lemon. I love that lemonade. I
right
could live
on.
on that. I'm basically an insect. I could just eat lemonade, drink lemonade,
I'm with you. I could do
and
it
pretty
too.
much be okay. I do love food. I'm a foodie, but like
Yes.
the taste and all that, and like the elegance of it.
Yes.
But my body really doesn't like dealing with food most of the time.
Mhm. In the
Yeah.
winter, does it change for you, Christopher? I know that you're like in cold climates sometimes. Do you feel like that? Because sometimes that changes people.
I think what'll happen is I will crave complex carbs in the winter.
Yep.
At times I'll crave a complex carb, which
Yeah.
I'll let myself have now and then. But my
Yeah.
body doesn't like carbs. My body doesn't like pasta, it
No.
doesn't like bread.
What about
Um,
rice? How do you do with rice?
Small portions.
Small portions, okay? Because
Yeah, I can't eat a lot of rice, just a small portion.
no, I can't eat lots of rice, but rice for certain bees is a superfood.
Mhm.
Is really interesting. And, like for me, I avoided dairy for a very long time. Like I just was like, oh, yeah, no, this is mucus producing. It's bad. And then I found out that like nomads could have some real calcium issues and maybe some bone density issues. And certain dairy is part of their like superpower. Like we can digest it and break it down.
Mhm.
So it's kind of some of these blanket things, like I guess I was just curious as to why someone would tell me like, "Oh my god, I love chia seeds." And somebody else would be like, "Whew, I'm a flax girl, no chia seeds over here."
Mhm.
Because it would upset their tummy, right? So, as an 11 degree Cancerian, or moon child, I'm kind of like everybody's mom in some ways, like,
Mhm.
that they can like tell things to and just like talk to you about it. And there's really, like I said, never any judgment, just really an exchange because I learn every single day that I'm coaching people and working with people. And I'm in awe. Like humans are incredible, like
Oh, yeah.
incredible beings.
Oh, yeah,
Just
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the food industry's been trying to kill us for 60 years, and they haven't managed to yet. Like, as messed up as we are, we're still here. We're
we
still
are still
standing,
we are
you know?
still standing
You've been
and
poisoning us, like, in every way, our water, our food, our air, our everything. You can't even get vegetables without glyphosate on it. Like,
right.
everything is poisoned, and yet we look like shift, but we're still here.
We're still here. We're the new cockroaches. And I feel like
True.
for us, if we stop buying it, they
Yeah, I
will
agree.
stop selling it.
It's so true. You're right. If we stop buying it, I mean, if everyone flocks to organic, everyone flocks to that, and there's, it'll happen. We really do have the power there.
We totally do. Like if I'm like traveling and I'm in like a very tiny town somewhere and I go into like, a gas station and I'm traveling with people and I'm kind of like, my friends will be like, "Oh yeah, what are you going to find in this one, Michelle, that's clean and blah blah blah." And you can actually find things now. Like almost everywhere.
Yeah, I couldn't in Texas, but I was in a small town, Texas. Oh my God, I could just grocery store or
Really?
whatever, but I could not find
Was there a
any
Walmart,
fast.
Christopher?
There was a Walmart, but I don't know. I don't trust Walmart organics. I don't know why.
No, and I don't
Walmart and
want to
the word
support
organic
them.
don't go together to me.
No, they don't. However, sometimes though, like I have a friend that goes to a small town in Oklahoma and
Yeah.
she winters there and she tries to like keep clean. And she was like sending me pictures like, "Look, Michelle, there's this, there's that," and I was like, "Yay." And so like I go into a store like that and I'll buy all the stuff to skew the numbers so they're like, "Oh, wait, we've got to replace it."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And there's farmers markets, and so basically how often do you have to clean out the plumbing? Like,
So, so it depends too. It used to depend more on age, right? It
mhm,
used to. Now, apparently, from the unfortunate statistic I told you, it doesn't matter as much about age. I have clients that see me once a month. They do a pretty rad ionic foot bath that is made in America. And my unit, my colon hydrotherapy unit, is made in America. And I'm very proud of that because I think that's part of an important thing in our nation is we have to be manufacturing great things for our people because we're great at doing it.
yes.
And I have people that will legitimately, they come in, they do 3. I might not see somebody again for another 6 months. And they're like, "Hey girl, I got to see you." And if you do the math, most people shake out about once a month.
Mhm. Okay.
That's the average.
It seems
That's
like
the
it. Well, it
average.
seems like with how poisoned our environment is, you almost have to
It, it's
once a
it's
month.
it's unfortunate. Like so back in the late 90s, like when I was a client of this, and my colon hygienist was like, "Hey, you should do this. I think you'd be great at it." It's like, "Oh no, I'm good. Thank you. I'm an educator, a pastoral counselor. Like I do counseling. Like I'm good." And then I started to see what was happening with our food. I
Mm,
never thought, Christopher, I wish I could tell you that I had like this great foresight. I didn't realize how abysmal, like a biblical abomination. That's what I say. Like our food is like an abomination. Like people aren't an abomination. Like food is, or a situation, never people. And
yeah.
so, like, I just really am shocked. And look at what we do. And this is just a selfish plug for school children. We feed our school children and some of the poorest school children the
Yep.
worst food and our
Yep.
military.
Yep. We
And we
experiment on
need to
them.
change that. And we need to change that because the people that sit in like the halls of Congress and in our Senate eat organic food.
I think we should make Congress eat whatever we serve in schools.
Thank you. I agree with you. Sorry, that's the only controversial thing I'm really saying tonight. I was going to stay
No,
away from
I
it.
think it's great. And what's sad is some families are relying on that to feed their kids because, and the cost of processed food and just everything is just, horrible. And I'm the first one right now. I'm just thinking about Taco Bell right now, having these sweet dream thoughts about it because
You and I have
all
that.
that bad stuff tastes so good.
Yo
Oh my
quiero
God.
Taco Bell. No, I
I will let
know that.
myself do it. Yeah.
No, but and it's not even the Taco Bell that we remember. Like
Oh,
if
no,
we
no,
went, it's not. It's not even like good Taco Bell at midnight, like circa 1994. Like it's
no.
not.
No, it's like Doritos and some crazy. They're mixing in Doritos and Cheetos and the stuff now. It's just like Jesus. Why don't you
Well,
throw in some Fruit Loops and God?
exactly. Well, one of the things that I used to do when I was a Montessori educator, so my middle schoolers and my early high schoolers, I would pick up chicken nuggets from a certain doof place and a burger from a certain doof place. And we would just leave it out on the windowsill. And it would be
Okay.
our science experiment.
Yeah. I know I've heard this.
And they would just be like, whoa, Michele. And like my older students that had been, around for the rodeo before, I'd be like, zip it. Like, and people would be like taking pictures of it. And they'd be like, really like putting it under the microscope, looking for any fungus, any bacteria. And I'd be like, isn't that interesting? What does that tell us?
We're eating plastic. We're eating Play-Doh, basically.
Nothing that was alive.
No. It's dead energy, and there's also life force, and
Yeah.
and all of that. Yeah.
It's
Interesting.
just,
So, what are the positive health benefits you see from people who regularly holy water cleanse?
holy water cleanse. People that do the holy water cleanse regularly will say things like, wow, my energy level.
Okay.
Right? Like people are surprised. So I'm an early riser. I'm an old school teacher. Maybe like, I don't really remember a Buddhist monk lifetime, but I might have one in there somewhere. I rise super early. Here I am with you. This is not always my shining hour this late at night.
You're doing
but
great.
Thanks,
You must
Christopher.
I can see you're on a low doof diet. You must have
I'm
cleansed.
on a low tube diet. And people are like, oh my God, Michele, you have so much energy. I think that people notice like their energy levels. I also think that their mobility, just being able to stay kind of loose and limber, right? Obviously people talk about like their hair, their skin, but truly, I mean, it's interesting, Christopher, because I'm thinking about this. That's usually like secondarily what people say, which is kind of cool. You just really brought that to my awareness, which is that usually people are like, hey, I look good. And therefore I'm going to keep doing this because of how I look.
Yep.
But what's really beautiful is that I think that people really comment on how they feel.
Yeah.
First. And that is so important because a lot of body awareness, sometimes we just don't know that we're not comfortable in our home until we're actually comfortable in our home.
Well, the body is so good at tolerating.
Yes.
So you don't realize how you've built up and tolerated so much. I mean, I had an issue when I went off the air or whatever, and Western medicine did not help me at all. I can't say. And I eventually did the master cleanse.
Yes.
For 30 straight days. I did it.
Beautiful.
And I did it with like a morning, like salt water flush that makes you, go.
Oh yeah.
And of course you're replacing it with like water and all this stuff. But like, I felt so much better after just cleansing for 30 days. I could see like, and I knew it. I knew it was shift. I had a whole bunch of doof and crap in my bloods and I just knew it. And I kept telling doctors and they're like, okay. But the point being, it's like, I think we don't realize how much we're carrying around in our bloodstream, and I think that your methodology, I mean, obviously that method, that's going to clean your blood as well as your colon, right? Like
there's no question the blood-brain barrier thing is real, right?
Yeah.
And so you're obviously going to get cleaner everywhere. It's not like it's just isolated.
Yes, because your blood touches everything and your intestines touch your blood.
That's right.
Yeah, so you
and
literally are
remember,
cleaning out. It's like an inside-out shower.
That's right. And immune function really lives in the large intestine. That's where immunity emanates from. And that's from that population of the good stuff with the not so good stuff kind of working together to bring homeostasis. That's where our immunity lives. So,
Yes.
you and I, one day, it's interesting. I had something similar where I that Chiron return at 50.
Yeah. Is that for you? Yeah. Okay.
It almost took me out.
It almost took me out too.
It
Yeah.
almost took me out legitimately. And
Yeah.
I went through a very, very significant healing. And
Mm.
so I don't always share this. Occasionally I feel called to because my client's time is about my client. But
Yeah.
when I work with sports teams, I let them know, hey guys, I'm living proof that this works. And because for the young guys, I'm now probably like the age that their moms are, a lot of them, it strikes a chord with them. Like I'll have like
Mm.
coaches and trainers be like, oh my God, they listen to you. They don't listen to me. And I think sometimes that when we've walked that walk of, okay, I was told X, Y, and Z, and I did all of it, and I actually felt worse.
Yeah.
And then we have to go look at other things. I did the Gerson method of juicing for it was almost 18 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you cleansed yourself completely out, huh?
Had to. Yeah. Yeah. Just to summarize it in a brief way. So the so the Netflix that had the triplets that, were like adopted from the world's worst adoption agency, that's where I came from. so,
Wow.
so there were many things that people did not tell you. And in fact, in the early 1990s, New York State shut down that adoption agency in question. And
Wow.
so, yeah, so there were just things that I didn't know were lurking in me that were, and of course everybody thinks, well, she has half a brain, she doesn't seem to have cognitive deficits, but drugs and alcohol, when someone's in utero doesn't really do great things to your DNA.
Yeah.
So, that's where the inflammation came from because I was that kid that never drank, never smoked. I was just very aware of my body in ways that my friends weren't. And I thank God, I thank my connection to a higher power for that.
Yeah.
But this stuff it works. And that's the only reason that I recommend any of it.
I love
Really.
it. Good stuff here, Michele. I'm so grateful that you have shared with us today. I think I've got a new, like, every month I go see the beautician twice a month. Now I've got another professional I got to see once a month.
Right. And when you come to Nashville before Unite the Light, you should do a big cleanse.
Yeah. No,
Just
I will.
saying, friend.
Yeah, no, totally. It's really smart and I think necessary and so clean. And they can learn more about you at nashvillecolonscare.com, right?
Yes. And I always say to people, like, read what people write, read the reviews.
Yeah.
And I'm truly humbled. I'm humbled by the reviews. I mean, I joke around with friends and family, like if God forbid something ever happens to me, you don't know what to say. Read my reviews because because at least I help somebody, you know. Um because people will tell like their story, and again, this is where I have a lot of humility and gratitude for people that are so trusting and so loving and are like, oh my God, Michelle's like, I want to review clients back and be like, no, you're the most amazing person ever because you're
Yeah.
committing to
Well, but
you.
yeah. And changing your
Mhm,
life. Yeah.
for
Well,
sure.
since we'll be there next year, we're going to have to book way ahead of time for people to get in with you.
I have to book out ahead of, I have to book in ahead of time. And I'm just so excited that Unite the Light is going to be in Nashville because we have like such an ever growing community. I've always thought that Nashville was a very unique place in terms of spirituality and connection to a higher power. And I can tell you this, we might not be LA or New York, which I actually think is a good thing,
I do too.
because we are our own entity. But the people that are here are such a beautiful group that just keeps kind of multiplying. It's like people just keep showing up and they're like, I felt really called here and da 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 da. And so it just keeps getting better.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure, I mean, we chose it. The spirit has there are special people moving there.
Yeah.
And same with Austin. There's a lot of special people that move there too.
Yes. Yes.
I would say the latest is Nashville. I
Yeah.
think there's just a lot of future, the people who are hooking up there, people having kids. I think there's special babies are going to be born there. For some reason, God chooses these certain areas where things bloom, and Nashville's one of them. So we're
Amen.
looking forward to seeing. I look forward to meeting you again, getting another selfie with you. My eyes will be more sharp next time. Thank you for
Yes.
sharing with us.
No, thank you so much for having me. Blessings and appreciation.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Stay backstage, and we'll say hi at the end of the show. Okay.
Awesome. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Michele.
Bye-bye, y'all.
Thank you. That was wonderful. That was a good session. I'm excited because that's something I already, it's full circle for me. I have been thinking about that sort of thing just because I had such an amazing response to cleansing for 30 days. I mean, from the weight I lost, my skin clearing up, weird pains in my body ending, a lot of just weird stuff that I thought it was my aging. I'm like, I guess I'm getting old. And then I cleansed and I just felt so much, a lot of that stuff just left. And I realized, I'm carrying around a lot of stuff. So thanks to Michele. We'll be catching back up with her. And as we wrap up here, first of all, LOL, she mentioned she saw it. We are live every Monday, LOL, leading out loud with my troop of my motley crew, Scott Cruz, Chris Reck, Devin Dewar, myself. This week we're doing Spirit Guides and Soul Family Tree. We'll be live talking about Spirit Guides and what Spirit Guides are and how you talk to your Spirit Guides, how you find your Spirit Guides. We're going to dish it all out. It's a great way to spend your Monday nights. We are live 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. on all of our affiliate networks or the Leading Out Loud page, LOL_Leading Out Loud on YouTube. Love to see you there. It's going to be fun. We always have a good time. Also, the new SeriousJoy.com. We would love to have you come check out our new and improved remodeled website at SeriousJoy.com. You can get the weather. You can also get the current stuff going on with the planets right on the homepage. And we have, of course, these new Town Hall TV shows. We're doing new Town Hall TV shows where we do basically our normal show, but we invite everyone in the community on. Our last one was Angel Intervention last week with Devin Dewar and Heather Exposito. Over like 75 people were live in the community, in the back room, in the Zoom chat, where we had basically 3 subscribers come on and ask questions to the angels. Then we pulled one person out of the audience and answered their question. This week we have Keeping It Surreal with Kristen Ryder, also going to be a Town Hall TV show. Her topic, what was her topic? I cannot remember all of a sudden. I've gone blank. Sorry, sister, I forgot what it was. I think, it's water, the power of water and healing, and Dr. Emoto. That's right. That's what we're talking about. Keeping It Surreal will be live. The Town Hall meeting will be live at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively for our subscribers at SeriousJoy.com. Sharing is caring, my friend. The greatest thing you can do for us is share us with your friend or family member. Tell us about us. Don't forget, we have our horoscopes live and cut and uploaded every Tuesday. So sharing someone with them their horoscope is probably the best way to go. You can visit us on Facebook. We have a group called SeriousJoy.club. Come rub elbows with all of our friends worldwide. You can also advertise your spiritual light work business there. If you want to follow us on our social media, it's seriousjoy.social. That brings in all of our social tree links. And if you'd rather listen instead of watch, we're available on Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. I want to say special thanks to our new executive producer, Diane DeStefano. Our casting coordinator is now Nina. I don't have her last name here. I'll say it next week. Our director is Adam Turner. So we have a whole new crew here behind the scenes. My teaching staff on the SeriousStory.com, Robbie Hunt, Kristen Ryder, Devin Dewar, Joe Zamek, Gwen English, Daiki Okamoto, and Heather Exposito running up our Joy Garden. And special thanks to our super friends in the chat, Sydney, Princess Coffee Bean, Jill Louise, Margot Melia, Lori Ship, Nikki Anderson, Libran Lauren, Experimental Elemental, Erica, Michelle Camper, Michelle Bell, Cat Rider, my soul brother, Dale Brakenship, I saw you, dude, Neptune Girl, Jamar, Christian Kelly, Sydney, and always Iggy and Nitu. All right, friends, we're so happy to be of soul service. I will be live next Friday, but I'm going to be live from LA. I'm going to be out traveling. No, actually, I'll be live here in the studio, and then I'm going to LA. Get my days confused. But anyways, If I don't see you tomorrow on Serious Joy, I'll see you on Monday with more. Until next week, hey friends, it's always a pleasure